Part 24. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 231. When the topic of malicious arrears of donations became a hot search topic, Li Yuan knew that someone could not wait to play cards. Li Yuan returned to school at noon, and many people saw him. They have all finished their major exams, and Chen Qi has already packed up and gone home, because he will go out after the new year, go back to apply for a passport, and spend more time with his family. Li Yuan came to school mainly to fulfill the following previous commitments and treat his classmates to a meal. After all, it's hard to say whether there will be another chance in the future. He failed again this year. The scores for several subjects that have already been released are all 0 points. This is normal, after all, he didn't have time to come over for the exam. Originally, if the second phase had not been launched, he would have been able to take most of the exams, but was delayed by the second phase of funding. This is nothing, the worst is to continue to repeat the grade. But Ma Chen-kai just brought him a message, saying that other students would be arranged to live in the dormitory. This means that there is not even a bed left for him. Ma Chen-kai lay on the bed and sighed, "I will be the only one left in the dormitory from now on. Everyone is busy, but he is the most leisurely." Gu Dongsheng came back in the evening. After finishing the exam the day before yesterday, he went out to shoot the video immediately. Looking on the bright side, maybe the school will arrange for a girl to come and live here. Li Yuan joked. Hey, that's a good feeling. Anyone who is a normal person would not believe that the school would arrange for girls to live there. But for Ma Chen-kai, this is the only fantasy. In fact, he has wanted to let the big boss Li Yuan take care of him many times. He also believes that as long as he opens his mouth, he will definitely find a good job and make money during college. But he couldn't speak. He couldn't be as desperate as Gu Dongsheng, nor had he experienced Chen Qi's life experience. As a student, he was proud at heart and would rather suffer a loss than ask for help. He felt that asking for help from others would shatter his fragile self-esteem. Has Lao Gu's plane arrived? Li Yuan asked. In fact, he understood Ma Chen-kai quite well. For example, classmates in the class rarely chat with him in private. Even if they say a few words of compliment when they meet, they all reveal that they are not sincere. Who is not a teenager yet, who is not yet the age of high-spiritedness? You, Li Yuan, are awesome, and we are not bad either. It's up to you who will be better than the other in the future. Of course, he didn't know whether he would say something like Li Yuan was my classmate when he was showing off in private. It seems to be 5:30, but it's only 5 o'clock now. That's almost it. Let's call everyone out first. We don't have anything to say in the dormitory. Okay. Ma Chen-kai said something in the group. He actually wanted to stay in the dormitory for a while, because he knew this was his last chance. In the future, if Li Yuan is not in the dormitory or even leaves the school, it will be difficult to meet again. Even Gu Dongsheng can't just meet him. But in the end, he couldn't say it out loud until he got into Li Yuan's car and arrived at Qinji, where he began to help receive the students who were arriving one after another. Li Yuan asked Yu to reserve a seat in advance. There were only 24 people in the class, and Chen Qi was not here yet, so a large table would be enough. About half an hour later, classmates from the class came over one after another. Another half hour later, Gu Dongsheng also came over and dinner was officially served. The atmosphere of the meal was very lively, and within half an hour of the meal, someone was already drinking too much. That person is Ma Chen-kai. Li Yuan started drinking himself and took the initiative to invite others to drink. Li Yuan, to be honest, you are really awesome. But my brother is not bad either. I will treat you as my target in the future. When I am better than you, I will definitely treat you to dinner here. Then Mr. Sun must give me the right to pack after the meal. If I don't take the plastic box, No one can touch it? Haha, that's necessary. Li Yuan, if I apply for a job in your company from now on, you have to open a back door for me. Why do you need to open the back door when you're here? The front door has been prepared for you, and you can come over at any time. You don't have to make your resume so complicated, just say you are my classmate, and the HR staff will kneel to you on the spot. Then you keep your word. Just give you my signature and fingerprints. I will give you the business card of the general manager of the company later. Just call him directly when you want to come. Li Yuan really doesn't care about the positions, there are only a few classmates in the class. Anyway, don't expect a good position when you first come here. What company doesn't have a few handy men? If you are capable, you will naturally come up. If you are not capable, you will naturally leave after a few months. Even if he doesn't like Zhangzhou University anymore, he can't deny the teaching ability of a 985 institution, and students who graduate normally will not have much problem. After more than 2 hours of commotion, the group finally took a group photo before reluctantly leaving. Li Yuan arranged a car and sent everyone to the school gate. At the same time, a small gift was prepared for them. A pure gold zodiac pendant, corresponding to each person's zodiac sign, weighs 50 grams. The current price of gold is 204, which is 12,000 per capita. This meal actually didn't cost much, 130,000. Gu Dongsheng had a great capacity for drinking. He drank almost the most in the audience, and by the end he was soberer than anyone else. He also arranged for someone to send the drunk Ma Chenkai to the hotel, and then came back and sat next to Li Yuan, taking out a pack of cigarettes. This time Li Yuan did not refuse and allowed Gu Dongsheng to order it for him. Gu Dongsheng said, "Are you not planning to come back in the future? There's nothing I can do about it. They're playing it real, and I can't play it fake." Zhangzhou University didn't take his matter seriously at first, so he responded with a move. Then Zhangzhou University can't sit still? Only you are allowed to joke, but he is not allowed to joke. Who knows who is in a hurry? Gu Dongsheng said, "This matter must be considered because of me, otherwise you would not have reached this point." Li Yuan waved his hand, "The reason is not important, what is important is the result." Gu Dongsheng's short essay must have been influential, but the decisive factor was human arrogance. "Actually, several of your roommates are not very good." Gu Dongsheng knew the situation in his dormitory very well. Although the relationship between the four is good, each character has huge flaws. Li Yuan could completely ignore these guys. You can't tell whether it's good or bad now. The relationship between roommates depends on time. Other dormitories are normal, but we don't have a deep understanding of them. They may not be better than our dormitory. You can even block Tong Sui whenever you want. Why are you so generous to a few weird roommates? Give you face. Me? I'm begging for food under your hands. Haha, you are eating your own food and it has nothing to do with me. It's time for me to go back. When will you leave? Let's go early tomorrow morning. Before I get reported or banned, I'll take more videos. I'm afraid I won't be able to take any more videos in a while. His videos have been reported a lot because they involve showing off his wealth. This is the case on the internet, defects will be infinitely magnified and put online. Didn't you get the live broadcast permission? Then get ready to hang up the little yellow car. Li Yuan smoked his cigarette and walked out. He was not in a good mood today because the last lesson in his life had come to an end. From now on, he will be Mr. Li through and through, and no longer classmate Li. Future class reunions will no longer have anything to do with him. Even if he is invited, he will not attend. Because everyone's path is different. Even his and Gu Dongsheng's paths were completely different. The 30,000 yuan I spent in my previous life has almost come to an end today. Still a classmate or roommate, I would recognize him no matter where he goes. But how far we can go depends on our interests. Maybe Chen Qi couldn't do what he arranged, so there wasn't much conflict of interest between them, and the relationship gradually faded away. If Gu Dongshen was just an anchor, even if his annual income was several billion, it would be unlikely that he would have much interaction with him in the future. We can brag and call each other brothers when we meet. But life is no longer related to each other, and the circle will be completely different. It is simply unrealistic to have as deep a relationship as you want. Life is a process of screening, and time will slowly filter out people who are not helpful to you. Basically, high school is the peak of friendship, and it starts to decline in college, and after marriage, you have very few friends. The ability to maintain a good relationship without any entanglement of interests depends not on one person, but on the congeniality of a group of people. He doesn't have that ability. When he returned to his residence, he was already a little dizzy. For him who doesn't drink much, the early stage was fine, but the alcohol's stamina couldn't be resisted no matter what. Fortunately, Chen Ji was at home, and he enjoyed the comfort brought by Chen Ji. I fell asleep in a daze, and felt refreshed when I woke up. All the emotions from last night were gone. He now has the leverage to negotiate with anyone. In this world, there are many people who can participate in his life, and more people will have interests in him. The most important thing is that he will have a child soon and he can participate in the child's life. It's just that I faced separation yesterday and was affected by the atmosphere among my classmates. This world will continue to function no matter who leaves it. Li Yuan's goal is not to let this world leave him. As long as he stops from now on, everything he owns will be slowly returned. Just like a stock that is rising rapidly, when it can create unlimited potential, all the benefits and compliments will fall on you. When you start to trade sideways or even start to fall, your eyes will slowly move away. He didn't conquer Chen Ji with money, nor did he make Zhang Yuanqiao look at him differently because of money, nor did he let Tang Jianjun place bets on him because of money. If he only maintains his current wealth, his flaws will be infinitely magnified. Only by continuing to maintain high growth and becoming a mountain that no one can overcome can he block his flaws. Except for his parents, no one around him knows that he is a scumbag. When we came to the company, there were only a few people. Hundreds and tens of millions of funds are redeemed every day, but Guo Meng still sticks to his post. Not to mention Yu. After receiving the 2 million bonus, he felt particularly comfortable. He has been busy with the group structure these days. When he saw Li Yuan coming, he showed Li Yuan the structure he had made. Next, Qingtian Capital is just a territory under Li Yuan's name, mainly the securities business. Qingtian Group also includes Qingtian Investment, Bixin, Joshan Media, and even more. At the same time, Chen Ji's previous account will also become another account held on his behalf, but not in his name. Taking the documents Yu had prepared, he returned to his office. He called Tang Jianjun. Uncle Tang, are you interested in Qingtian Capital? I plan to take out 20% of the equity after the year. If you are interested, you can come and talk. Tang Jianjun was surprised and asked, your Qingtian Capital is a cash cow, so you are willing to give it away. Not only do I have to take it out, I can also promise to give out at least 50% of the profits as dividends every year. Wait a minute. Tang Jianjun was frightened. He knows better than anyone how profitable Qingtian Capital is. The business hasn't started yet, and I didn't have much time last year. Throughout this year, even if Li Yuan only did fork die funds plus other businesses, he could easily earn tens of billions. The profits of financial business are inherently high, and the profits of Qingtian Capital are unimaginably high. In the first half of last year, Qingtian Capital's operating costs were only more than 20 million, and its net profit was more than 23 billion. There is no such big profit even if you steal money. He had never thought of holding equity in Qingtian Capital, because Li Yuan himself was involved in finance and could not release it. After waiting for a few minutes, Tang Jianjun called again and said, "What on earth do you think? I don't believe you will give the profits to others." Li Yuan said with a smile, "I'm preparing to go public, so I can't pinch myself too hard." "What does it have to do with going public? You have plenty of ways to avoid these problems. Tell me what price we need to pay. I don't believe you can be so kind as to give your profits to others." "Huh? Ha, you know me really well. I probably want a banking license." "I think you are thinking nonsense. Last time I asked for a brokerage license and a payment license, I could barely help you talk about it. Don't even think about a bank license. How to say? Your personal strength is definitely enough, but Qingtian Capital's strength is not enough. Moreover, the bank license involves too many aspects. At present, with your talent reserve, you still can't get it? Oh, don't do it for the time being. If you are interested in Qingtian Capital, you are welcome to discuss it at any time. The price I want is not high, and the 20% equity will definitely not exceed 20 billion. Really? Don't joke with me." Tang Jianjun was really moved. According to Li Yuan, Qingtian Capital's highest valuation is only 100 billion. The net profit is more than 20 billion. If the dividend is no less than 50% a year, more than 10 billion will be distributed. Invest 20 billion and get more than 2 billion in dividends every year. Li Yuan has proven his strength 3 times, and each time is more exaggerated. There is no reason to doubt that he can't do it well. "No kidding, if you don't want it, I will find someone else." "Nonsense, if you give me money, can I not take it?" "Wait, I will arrange for someone to go over and talk to you right away." "Okay, just the last 2 days, I'm going back to my hometown soon. I won't keep you waiting too long. I'll arrange for someone to come over tonight and talk to you tomorrow." "Okay." Li Yuan happened to have little money in his hand. He didn't tell Tang Jianjun that he had split up Qingtian Capital. Both the registered capital and subsequent profits from participating in the KDI fund belong to Qingtian Group. Qingtian Capital's profit is only management fees. "Mr. Yu, is this year's Forbes released? Where do I rank? They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it." Author, Lao He. Chapter 232. Forbes has been busy since December. It collects money when it needs to block the list and collects data when it needs to. They have their own set of calculation methods that can give a number based on taxes and corporate profits. Of course, you can also make it up. Some people want to report high, and some want to keep low, just give them money. Unless you are really too flamboyant and everyone knows that you are worth a lot, your name can be completely erased. For example, if you say that teacher Ma is not on the list, no one will believe it. But if you say that teacher Ma is worth only 100 billion this year, no one will doubt it. Statistics speak volumes. They can only count the listed stocks, or they can count all your other revenue, including how much you have cashed out over the years. The inside and outside can go from 10 billion to 100 billion. As long as they think about it, it's up to them to decide where it will be. "Boss, they said they would announce it tomorrow. How many did you count for me?" 60 billion. "Did you stuff money? This data is obviously wrong. He is only worth 20 billion at most." Yu smiled bitterly and said, "Boss, if I give you money, they dare to give you the richest man directly. Because according to the average price-earnings ratio of A shares, the company's valuation has exceeded 200 billion, and they can definitely follow this standard." "Then where did this 60 billion come from?" "They initially offered 130 billion, Qingtian Capital 120 billion, and Jushin Media 10 billion. Later I asked them to lower it a bit, to 50 billion for Qingtian Capital and 10 billion for Jushin Media. 10 billion. Mr. Yu couldn't let Li Xiao's worth weigh on his boss, so he didn't dare to lower his salary too harshly. According to Li Yuan's previous goal, it only needs to be a few billion, not too high. Are you sure it's tens of billions? Sure. Li Yuan understood what Forbes meant. He just wanted to pay for himself, either up or down. They are very sophisticated in setting prices, giving them both room for upwards and room for downwards. Currently this position is the most uncomfortable, neither above nor below. There are about 20 people. A little extra can make you into the top 10, attracting national attention. Those who need fame will definitely not want to miss it. If you drop it a little further, the attention will be reduced exponentially, which is also very easy to operate for those who want to keep a low profile. Contact them and either get me the number 1 spot or lower it to less than 5 billion, otherwise I will no longer authorize them to release my information in the future. Okay. You knew what Li Yuan was thinking. The so-called drop to less than 5 billion is just a way of saying that Li Yuan just wants the title of the richest man. This is also very simple, just need Forbes to make up a story. For example, if a certain institution values Qingtian Capital, they can use this data to increase Li Yuan's worth. By the way, print out my pay stub again. Okay. Putting the two things together, you knew what Li Yuan was going to do. About half an hour later, Li Yuan posted 2 pictures on his social platform. The first one is his salary slip, and the second one is the record of 1 yuan transferred from the finance department to Zhangzhou University's bank account. And the accompanying text said, "These 2 pictures are a response to something. It is not easy for me to make some money. It is difficult for students to start a business. If you feel dissatisfied, you might as well think more about your own problems. Yes. There is not enough support for students to start their own businesses, and there is no guarantee for students' studies." When Li Yuan said this, he basically broke his face. In the past few minutes, Li Yuan sent another message. By the way, those words just now can also be used to respond to another thing. Everyone can be rational and eat melons. It's okay to attack me. I can't do anything to you. If you attack the master, you will bear the consequences. Haha. This message is even more heart-wrenching, and its impact is 10 times greater than the previous one. Because too many big guys are paying attention to Li Yuan. Tang Jianjun is one of them. He hadn't paid much attention to those rumors before, and since they weren't part of a system, it was inconvenient for him to say anything. But Li Yuan's words directly pointed the finger at the whole group. Li Yuan's popularity was so high, and the impact was extremely bad. He reported the matter immediately. With his status, if he reports a matter, it is conceivable how seriously he will be taken seriously. An hour later, Li Yuan received a call. But he didn't answer. Another half hour passed, and someone came directly to the office of Qingtian Capital. Li Yuan asked Yu to come forward. Anyway, he didn't have time to meet those people. After 2 hours of wandering and getting rid of those people, Li Yuan left the company and returned to his residence. His best counterattack is not seeing anyone. Seeing it means that you have softened your heart. He didn't want to be a soft-hearted god. He knew that the content of his message was to launch a map cannon, but the other party refused to let go after persisting for so long, so he just wanted to make things worse. After returning, I was eating when Tang Jianjun called me. "What are you doing? It seems like you have been saving up for a long time today." Li Yuan never said anything, but today he took action for the second time. The intention of venting was obvious. Li Yuan smiled and said, "Yes, after all, I am different from you. Others think that I am easy to bully. They try different ways to mess with me every day, but no one dares to cause trouble for you. Look at what you said. If you feel wronged, you can tell us. How can we ignore you? If you could take care of it, you wouldn't have waited until now to call me. Those things have been posted on the internet for 7 or 8 days, right? I don't believe you don't know anything about it. Tang Jianjun said in an awkward tone, I just thought it was a small misunderstanding before, but I didn't expect it to become such a big deal. I have already intervened, and I will definitely give you an explanation. Let's have dinner together tonight. I'll be in Zhangzhou later. I'm already eating. Can I treat you tomorrow? I'm going to treat you tomorrow. You invited me last time. If I eat your food again, I'll feel really bad. You called me because you wanted me to delete the post, right? I'll delete it after dinner. Tang Jianjun was asked to come to Zhangzhou in person, so Li Yuan would definitely not be able to cause trouble again. No, just keep the post. It can be regarded as a warning to us. You have to think carefully, maybe someone will see what I posted and come directly to recruit people, and the media's ability to set the pace is not weak, maybe one day it will be misinterpreted by others, and I will feel like I have been slapped in the face, want to cause trouble for me. You're just slapping me in the face, is it useful to delete it now? Given your number of fans, it has already spread what should have been spread. If you delete it now, it will trigger conspiracy theories about what we did to you. Haha, then I'll keep it so I can go fishing, my life is not as good as I want, and I hope someone will dig me out. Okay. Tang Jianjun is in trouble. Under normal circumstances, who wants to have such a post hanging all day long? Isn't there nothing we can do about it? Things have already developed to this point, and it obviously doesn't make much sense to worry about other issues. However, Li Yuan has opened some scars this time and given them a good excuse to intervene in some matters. The business environment in many cities is indeed average, and it is useless to bear the name of a first-tier city. It's not that I don't want to take care of it, it's that I simply can't. There aren't that many outstanding talents to put in, so it's all up to the top to give orders. It's amazing that things can be done well that way. There are no certain rules and boundaries for this thing, it all depends on its own service concept. It's the same in any city. It must have gone through several beatings before slowly improving its service concept. He didn't tell Li Yuan that he didn't come alone this time, he was just a supporting role. But Li Yuan didn't want to meet, and it would be useless even if the King of Heaven came. That night, he got all the information about Qingtian capital at the guest house. He couldn't help but laugh after seeing the information. No wonder that boy is so easy to talk to. His relationship is splitting up his business. He had always felt that Li Yuan was giving him a chance to pick up the slack, but now he realized that it was that guy who did it on purpose. The current net profit of Qingtian capital last year was only more than 4 billion. But considering that it is only half a year old, this data is very valuable. Even based on the valuation of 100 billion given by Li Yuan before, it is not considered a loss. It's just, if it was just this, he wouldn't come over to talk, and he wouldn't be very interested. Now that he is here, he can only arrange for people to prepare. As long as Li Yuan can maintain his condition and strictly abide by the dividend agreement, it will actually be good. Zhangzhou University's counterattack was so fierce that they didn't even try to hide it, and the official account was dismissed immediately. From the perspective of teaching and educating people, Yin-Yang Li Yuan did not take the exam himself, blaming the school for not helping. He emphasized that the school treats students fairly and will not do anything through the back door. Then he took out the school's preferential treatment policy for student entrepreneurship over the years, implying that what Li Yuan said was bullshit. Finally, to summarize, Li Yuan is deliberately discrediting the school. After all, in the current situation, Zhangzhou University has never thought about getting money from Li Yuan again. Regarding the two aspects mentioned by Li Yuan, they believed that they were not at fault at all. Li Yuan's reply was crisp and clear. I did it on purpose, come and bite me if you can. Shabai school, you haven't figured out where you went wrong until now, have you? Have you forgotten how you wronged me? Forgot your teacher, the director of the academic affairs office? Are you bossing me around? Have you forgotten how you handled it when I was pointed at and scolded in the classroom? Do you insist that I speak so clearly? If the teachers in your school can speak so clearly in class, how can the students be so bad? If they can't even speak clearly and have problems with their comprehension, why should they teach? Go home. Go ahead and plant sweet potatoes. It's a shameful thing. For a top rich man to criticize people like this would cause quite a stir on the entire internet. At least there has never been a boss of Li Yuan's level showing off his face without any scruples. It was either a secret jab or a few strange words. He was really not a big shot in the Chen family, so he could only make a few rebuttals. How could he curse like Li Yuan? Li Yuan's words really disgusted many legitimate customers. After all, Zhangzhou University is also a famous school, and what people say is not bad. But in the end, you, Li Yuan, are just like a gangster. Even if the person is wrong, you are at a disadvantage by cursing like this. Because of the high popularity, Li Yuan's fans' fighting power instantly fell into a disadvantage and they were defeated. Chen Ji on the side saw Li Yuan talking online with his mobile phone and asked, "It's not good to keep speaking online. It's easy to offend people." "It doesn't matter. I should offend people. This time I should offend the entire education sector. If I find time to offend the internet industry another day, the heat will be almost the same." Chen Ji was stunned for a moment. "You don't want business allies? Famous schools can provide you with a large number of excellent students, and the internet industry can bring you a large number of contacts. But I can only choose one. Obviously the village chief gives me more benefits. Do you think this way is better?" Li Yuan immediately said, "Sister Chen, you shouldn't say these words. Your position doesn't allow it." Chen Ji said nonchalantly, "What position can I have? There is no need for a woman like me to have a position. But the most unpleasant thing in this world is the wallflower." Li Yuan didn't know if Chen Ji was testing him, but there were some things he had to say clearly. After all, her identity is rather complicated, and no one knows what identity she will suddenly emerge from. Maybe it has connections with foreign countries. Those words just now have two meanings. After testing your own attitude, you can either see if his position is domestic or ask him if he is willing to go abroad. Chen Ji had no expression after hearing Li Yuan's words, and just kept to herself and squeezed Li Yuan's shoulders. Yu Chenguang was sentenced to 16 years. Li Yuan frowned and said, "Isn't it right to take responsibility if you do something wrong?" He should have thought of this situation from the beginning. "I got him back, and I feel a little sorry for him. Then when Sister Chen got into my bed, did you ever think about being sorry for him?" The movements of Chen Ji's hands stopped. Li Yuan continued, "The rules of this world are like this. To enjoy the huge power and superiority brought by doing something wrong, you must always be prepared to bear the price. If you want to play outside the rules and not take responsibility, how can you such a good thing? If you haven't been discovered, you are considered capable. If you are caught, just admit your defeat. Sister Chen, are you unable to afford it?" Chen Ji may not care about Yu Chenguang, but herself. As a chess piece or a bargaining chip, you are just like duckweed in a river. You have no control over where it floats. If you encounter a big fish, you may be swallowed up at any time. No sense of security. Originally, she felt safer staying with Li Yuan, but Li Yuan did not want to choose that path. She was very afraid that Li Yuan would become Yu Chenguang's second best. She resumed her hand movements and said, "I am a little woman, shouldn't I be able to afford it? I don't want to have to change people after just a few days of stability. Then it's too late for Sister Chen to regret now. I have no interest in foreign countries. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 233. Chen Ji said, I have nothing to do with foreign countries. Li Yuan's implicit meaning was that he regarded her as a foreign lobbyist. Then what are you afraid of? Who will do anything to you? Or are you worried that I will end up like you, Chen Guang? I have no idea. Li Yuan said, same thing, if Yu Chen Guang was used as a scapegoat abroad, he would be dead now. The fact that he is alive is the advantage of local people. I dare not say absolutely, but at least for most people, domestic, if you can't get results, you will only get worse when you go abroad. Which side I stand on will not affect you. If I have a game with them, you will only be a negligible bargaining chip in it. This sentence can be regarded as telling Chen Ji that even if something happens to him in the future, she will not be implicated. For Li Yuan, if something happens to him, it can only be a systemic risk. This risk will not happen suddenly and there is enough time for him to prepare. Chen Ji snorted lightly. After waiting for half an hour, she waited for Li Yuan to enter the bedroom before leaving. She realized that she had shown a weak side in front of Li Yuan, which would probably disappoint him. I am not that capable and can only take care of 1/3 of an acre of land at home. I feel panicked when I go outside. Especially the road Li Yuan chose was not easy to walk. She had stepped on all the thorns on that road, leaving wounds that would never heal in her lifetime. She didn't know whether Li Yuan would succeed in the future. January 8 arrived as scheduled. Li Yuan came to the company early in the morning and was waiting for Tang Jianjun. 3 or 4 people from each side came and sat in the conference room, talking about shares. There must have been a round of bargaining, mainly between Yu and others, while Li Yuan and Tang Jianjun didn't say much. When either of them speaks, the final word will be made. In the end, Tang Jianjun spoke first and set the previous price. 20 billion, 20% equity of Qingtian Capital. This is equivalent to a valuation of 100 billion. The valuation of the financial industry itself is relatively low. Looking at the entire financial theme of A shares, the price-to-earnings ratio is basically in the 20s or 30s. The P/E ratio of other industries can reach over 80. According to this valuation, Tang Jianjun's PE of 25 times for Qingtian Capital is within the normal range. However, it cannot be simply calculated this way. After all, there are many places for Tang Jianjun to invest money, and their name is very valuable. Any stock held by China Securities Finance Corporation will attract countless funds. This means that the stock is backed by someone and will definitely not collapse in the short term. As far as the facts are concerned, Tang Jianjun made a big concession this time. If Qingtian Capital's income does not double after the year, this investment will be a loss for the securities fund. Li Yuan invited Tang Jianjun to his office, and Yu would discuss the specific details with the staff at the Securities and Futures Fund. After entering the office, Tang Jianjun said, I thought I could come to Zhangzhou to eat fish, but you didn't even let me smell the fishy smell. Li Yuan smiled and said, don't worry, if you don't weave cloth and build a net, how can you catch big fish? Everyone else brings the fish to my mouth, but you have to let me make the net myself. What if I can't catch the fish? Hey, that means you have poor taste and it has nothing to do with me. Li Yuan doesn't know how much money he can make next year. Anyway, if he gets the certificate money first, it will be much easier to do whatever he does later. The 20 billion will go directly into the group's account, and he will no longer be short of money after the year. Tang Jianjun took a deep breath and said, since you have made things big, show some strength, otherwise I will have no reason to speak for you. Since you entered the financial industry, you have been subverting the traditional model of this industry. Now if you want to subvert to other places, if the strength you show is too average, no one will take you seriously. I got it? Then tell me, what else do you want? In case you suddenly say something like don't mess with the old man again, we can't afford to take the blame. Li Yuan smiled awkwardly, nothing else. Anyway, the bank license cannot be approved, and I am not short of money. As long as my personal safety is not a problem, I will have more time to work after the year. No one can guarantee that there will be no accidents when it comes to safety. But as long as you don't run around and go to some chaotic places, it's basically unlikely that anything will happen. They arranged for people to protect Li Yuan 24 hours a day, but the manpower was limited after all. Once Li Yuan goes to a bar or a place that cannot be controlled, there is no guarantee that he can be protected in time. I'm not interested in those places either. By the way, do you have any contact with King Hua? I want to collaborate on a project with them. Tang Jianjun asked in surprise, cooperating with them on a project? Your Qingtian group is not involved in related majors yet? If it is a financial major, there are better choices. Li Yuan shook his head, no, it was a project they started in June last year. I am very interested in it and want to provide them with financial support. What subject? Steady-state microbunch accelerator light source. This topic is directly related to the lithography factory that will become a hot topic a few years later. Li Yuan remembered that the matter became widely known in 2023, but at that time there was only theoretical support. The reason was that the research progress was too slow, and manpower and funds were the biggest problems. It wasn't until Li Yuan was reborn that it was verified that it was a feasible solution. Tang Jianjun had never heard of this topic at all, so he asked, how much money are you prepared to invest? He doesn't mind sponsoring the university. After all, there is a high probability that there won't be much funding for this kind of subject that he has never heard of. With a big business like Li Yuan willing to pay, the school must be willing to cooperate. I will use tens of millions to test the waters first. As long as the progress is satisfactory, I will invest more in the future. Tang Jianjun nodded, just a few tens of millions will be enough. I'll find out the news for you, and then you can talk among yourself. Then I'm sorry to trouble you. Haha, I have never doubted your vision. If you really research something good, remember to bring us a copy. It's easy to talk about. Li Yuan agreed with a smile on the surface. Anyway, there are no results now. Maybe even if I have capital injection, I won't be able to speed up the progress. The longer the time goes, the less meaningful this product will be. The so-called photolithography factory is to subvert the concept of traditional photolithography machines. Currently, the most advanced UV lithography machines are very demanding on light sources and produce pure extreme ultraviolet light sources in extremely short channels. The concept of the photolithography factory is to create various light sources in a long acceleration channel, and finally guide the various light sources to where they should go through classification. To put it simply, the photolithography machine requires fine processing, which requires the product to be very standard and to maximize the output of high-end chips with a small number of defects. The photolithography factory is a rough processing company. After processing, the products are of various standards. Finally, after screening and classification, the best batch is selected. Even if that batch is high-end chips, there are also a lot of medium and low-end chips. End process chips are used as additional products. Moreover, after the lithography plant is built, it cannot be moved and does not have a commercial model. Even the cost of producing chips is much higher. But after all, it was a short-term opportunity to produce high-end chips, and Li Yuan wanted to spend some money to try it. After all, there are not many industrial crown jewels in the world. If he doesn't fight for chips, how can he fight for lighter gaskets and milk cartons? The ultimate goal of playing finance is capital operation, and there must be sufficient strength behind capital operation to support it. It doesn't matter whether something is useful or not. As long as it can be used, as long as it is truly effective, it is a good thing. At noon, we had dinner in the restaurant and the contract was signed. There will be no results in the short term on tax matters, especially since the Chinese New Year is approaching and it is not suitable for a big fight. Tang Jianjun also told him to wait patiently for 2 or 3 months, and he would be notified as soon as the results were available. Li Yuan definitely has this kind of patience. He didn't dare to expect that if he said a word, someone would jerk off those people immediately. He didn't have the strength, or no one in the world had the strength. Not one person, but a group of people. I don't know how long the investigation will take. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Forbes' domestic rich list was updated. It was originally supposed to come out in the morning, but some data were temporarily changed and the official release was delayed until 3 p.m. After the list was released, the internet exploded. Because Li Yuan turned out to be the richest man in the country, with a net worth of 290 billion. This is beyond anyone's imagination. It's too outrageous. Even Li Yuan's fans feel that this list has no credibility. Do they still know how much Li Yuan is worth? Since Li Yuan posted the video, many people have followed him. Li Yuan earned a net worth of 290 billion in half a year? What about fools? Questions have been raised online about the list. Forbes had to publish their algorithm later. First, the company under Li Yuan's name was announced. It is controlled by Qingtian Group, 80% of Qingtian Capital, 100% of Bixin, 100% of Jushin Media, 13% of Cattle, 15% of Mindray Pharmaceuticals, and 40% of MiHoYo. It is recognized that Qingtian Capital has just accepted the valuation of China Securities Finance Corporation. In other words, Li Yuan is still worth 80 billion with Qingtian Capital. Jushin Media's net profit last year was 500 million, so there is no problem in giving it a valuation of 10 billion. 13% of Ning's shares are worth 6.5 billion, and Mindray's 15% share is worth 13 billion. MiHoYo and BiXin calculated a total of 2 billion. It can only be counted as so much. But Forbes cleverly swapped the 20 billion given by the certificate fund with the money Li Yuan invested in the 4 companies, and regarded the remaining 20 billion as pure profit. This means that Li Yuan sold Qingtian Capital stocks and invested in other companies, but the previous profits remained unchanged. Profits can be leveraged. The money from selling stocks is cash, not considered profit, and cannot be leveraged. With a profit of 20 billion, Li Yuan's worth has risen and he has become the richest man by simply finding an institution to give him a valuation. Rank second is Boss Su. His net worth is only 2 billion lower than Li Yuan. From the beginning, everyone doubted it, but after seeing the algorithm, everyone inexplicably believed it. Because of Qingtian Group's 20 billion profit, the institution only provided a leverage of 8 times. Compared with others, which one did not have a leverage of 20, 30, or even 40 to 50 times. It's just that their company is listed, but Li Yuan's company is not. The data suddenly made sense. The title of richest man is still useful to Li Yuan. At least one ad was given to Bixin for free, and the number of downloads increased significantly. However, the payment license is currently not available, and Li Yuan does not want to engage in financial operations. He will wait until he gets the license in March. The current financial level of operations is to make wedding clothes for others. Because Bixin can currently only connect to other payment channels. Almost an hour after the news was announced, Zhang Yuling called. After Li Yuan got through, he heard Zhang Yuling say, "I really can't help you hide it now. Your parents already know about you and are about to call you. Tell your parents, I'll go back tomorrow and don't make any calls. What should we do at home? The door is blocked now. I never knew you had so many relatives and friends. Li Yuan. Don't talk about you, even I don't know any relatives. Li Yuan's family situation is quite special. His grandfather is the only child of his father. It was still very rare at that time, so he didn't have any uncles or relatives. Mom's side is even worse. They are a bunch of bad gamblers. After grandma and grandpa died, they rarely interacted with her, otherwise he wouldn't have recognized Qin Si when he saw her. He hadn't even heard much from his relatives over there, such as Qin Si's parents. What good can happen to a bad gambler? It is possible that everything is down now. Husband, I miss you. I take it you don't want to stay at home anymore. No, no, I really miss you. You must have been very hard during this period. How about I go and reward you? Li Yuan thought about it for a moment, and found that the family was indeed very troubled these days. Zhang Yuling just wanted his parents, not a lot of unfamiliar relatives. Then I'll ask the driver to pick you up, let's do this, and pick up my parents as well. What about the grandparents? It's okay, it's okay. My grandparents are old. Even if I take advantage of those people, it will be in vain. No one dares to ask for an explanation. Generally, gifts are given to people who are in charge of the family. What can you do if you give them to old men and old ladies? It can only be out of pure filial piety. Either he is not filial, or he is filial. It is a matter of course that Li Yuan is not afraid at all. Then I'll tell my parents and go to my grandpa's place for dinner tonight. Okay. After Li Yuan hung up the phone, he started making arrangements. First of all, you need to prepare some daily necessities, such as sheets and quilts, because you don't have any extra where you live. The next step is to wrap up some things. For example, if Chen Ji suddenly ran in, his parents would kill him. He originally wanted to go to Xu Yanlin's place tonight, because Xu Yanlin had just finished her exam and was officially on holiday. It's still about 3 hours before my parents arrive. Go meet the deadline. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 234. It has been almost a month since I last saw Xu Yanlin. The second phase of the fund suddenly started, and Xu Yanlin was also busy with exams, so many surprises came together. It was Anna Shen who drove over to pick him up. At this time, Anna Shen's face had long lost the arrogance she had before, and her whole person had slowly lost its previous dazzling aura. She became low-key and silent. Unlike before, I didn't want to show off my charm all the time. Being able to willingly accept the role of driver, Li Yuan would not mind raising another person. When he entered, Xu Yanlin, who had been waiting in the living room for a long time, ran over and threw herself into his arms. After rubbing his head against Li Yuan, he said, "Congratulations, senior, for becoming the richest man. Then did your school promote me?" Huh? This. In fact, Zhangzhou University of Technology did not publicize it on a large scale. It just organized a meeting and did not spread much. After all, publicizing Li Yuan's donation of 100 million in a big way is like slapping Zhangzhou University in the face. They are all involved in the education system, and they don't want to do too much. Unless Li Yuan takes the initiative. Li Yuan continued to ask, "Can you keep up with the course? You should be relaxed a lot in this exam, right?" Xu Yanlin nodded. After all, she had only studied for a few days in total. She hadn't even finished reading the textbook yet, and some subjects were about to take exams. However, the teacher specially marked the key points for her, so passing was not a problem. "So do you have any plans for the winter vacation?" I'm waiting for the senior to arrange for me." Li Yuan smiled and said, "Okay, then I will make arrangements." Anna Shen had already gone back to the room. However, the bedroom was not closed tightly, so some voices from Li Yuan and Xu Yanlin in the living room could be heard. From the moment she drove to the gate of Li Yuan's community to the moment Li Yuan entered the room, he had an indifferent face the whole time. But after seeing Xu Yanlin, she acted very relaxed. When I was with Xu Yanlin before, she was not only a cousin, but more like a teacher. Xu Yanlin just ask her if anything happens, and she will also instill some of her knowledge into Xu Yanlin. But now her knowledge is useless to Xu Yanlin. After all, she is now the girlfriend of the richest man in the country. And it's not the kind of relationship that you use and throw away. Now she has begun to learn Xu Yanlin's attitude towards life, but this is not easy to do. No matter how you study, it's a bit nondescript. After a while, she suddenly felt the sounds outside trying to penetrate her ears, and hurried to the window. I took out my phone and watched the video for a while before I could barely cover my messy heart. No matter how much you watch videos and news, they are all full of things about the rich list. And unknowingly, Li Yuan's number of fans on major platforms has been comparable to that of A-list celebrities. For a person who rarely shows up, this number of fans is terrifying. All these are just his additional attributes, maybe he doesn't care at all. However, this is her dream goal. She only has tens of thousands of fans, all attracted by her good looks. Because there is no content to post for a long time, almost no one discusses her. If there is a drama released, the effect will definitely be different. Anyway, her dream of becoming a star has been completely shattered, and the more she gets to know Li Yuan, the more she realizes that her life goal is not worth mentioning at all. In fact, her life now is no worse than before, driving a luxury car and living in a mansion. Xu Yanlin was also very kind to her on weekdays. She would buy any clothes or jewelry she liked and give them to her. It's just that I can't be as high as before, without the goddess aura. But now I'm at ease, I don't have to work hard to maintain my character, and I don't have to worry about messing things up. Maintaining your image is tiring. When others scold you, you have to face it with a smile. What she has to do now is very simple. If Li Yuan sends her a message, she will pick it up. When they're done, go clean up the sofa. Li Yuan would not get angry with her at all, because Li Yuan looked down on her and there was no point in getting angry with her. As long as she doesn't cause trouble, and as long as Xu Yanlin's identity doesn't change, she can still enjoy the life of a rich person even if she can't find a job after graduating from college. I don't know when, but it became quiet outside. She glanced at the time, it was already past 6 o'clock. I was distracted for a while and an hour passed. At this time, Xu Yanlin walked out of her bedroom wrapped in a bath towel and wiping her hair. When she saw Anna Shen opening the door a little, she said, "Cousin, come out, the senior has left." After hearing this, Anna Shen opened the door. Li Yuan walked too fast. "Shouldn't we stay here tonight? Then let me blow dry your hair." "Okay." Soon, Xu Yanlin sat on the stool, and Anna Shen carefully helped her blow dry her hair. "Cousin, do you want to go out and play?" Anna Shen said in surprise, "You are on vacation now, will Li Yuan come over?" "Senior is also going back to celebrate the New Year. He won't be here before the New Year. There are still more than 10 days left. Let's go out and have fun together." "Then where do you want to go?" "The capital city, the magic city, whatever, I haven't gone out to play much yet." Xu Yanlin knew that Anna Shen had been depressed recently and stayed at home all day long, and her temper became much duller. Unlike her, she can still play with her roommates and chat with her classmates at school on weekdays. Anna Shen was like a loner. "How about we go out for 2 days and then come back to buy some New Year's goods and spend a new year that belongs to us here?" Xu Yanlin raised her eyebrows and said, "Okay, okay. This year is destined to be different." Neither of them thought life would turn out like this. Parents, the biggest support, are actually the biggest shackles for the two of them. Starting from this year, we say goodbye to the past completely. Anna Shen suddenly put her arms around Xu Yanlin's shoulders and said softly, Linlin, you have been wronged. Xu Yanlin got all this in exchange for herself. He spent almost all his efforts to please Li Yuan. How can there be any grievance? For me, you have to please Li Yuan, otherwise with your temperament. Hey, cousin, let me tell you quietly, actually it's all of my own free will, well, I can't help it when I'm with my senior. Li Yuan came to Zhang Yuanqiao's side and stood at the door waiting for more than 20 minutes before picking up Zhang Yuling and his parents' car. Zhang Yuling's belly has a very obvious bulge, but the overall movements are quite natural. After getting off the car, he couldn't wait to come over and hug Li Yuan, acting like a clingy little wife. Li Yuan held her shoulders and led his parents into the yard. While his parents were talking to Zhang Yuanqiao, he whispered in Zhang Yuling's ear, just act. As a result, Zhang Yuling turned around and kissed him on the face. In front of so many elders. All of a sudden, Zhang Yuanqiao could no longer be punished. Li Wanhe and Zhou Wan were also embarrassed and didn't know what to say. This young man didn't even know he was carrying someone behind his back. Li Yuan looked at the elders and said, Grandpa, you chat with my parents first, and Yuling and I will go in first. After saying that, he hugged Zhang Yuling and walked into the house. It wasn't until Zhang Yuling's room on the second floor that Li Yuan asked, why is there something wrong with you today? What's wrong? You've been saying that I'm acting, so I'll prove that I'm not acting. Speaking of this, Li Yuan said angrily, you still have the nerve to say that you stayed at my house for more than 2 months and didn't even come back to see me when I was sick. You have no sense of my husband's existence at all, right? Li Yuan was not angry, but simply produced some evidence to refute Zhang Yuling. Zhang Yuling said innocently, what's the use of me coming back? I'm not a doctor. Besides, what if you have the flu and infect me? Li Yuan. I really have nothing to say. Then, Zhang Yuling continued, we must pay attention to these in the future. For example, we cannot take the same plane or sit in the same car. Why? Because we will die. If we die together, what will happen to our parents and grandparents? What will happen to our children? Li Yuan's scalp suddenly became numb. Because he suddenly thought of Zhang Yuling's childhood experience. Her parents had an accident while driving. Are you worried about this if you don't come back? Yeah. It didn't matter before, but now that I have children, I don't want to ride back and forth in the car. When I come to Zhangzhou this time, I want to call my grandpa to celebrate the new year together. Li Yuan knew Zhang Yuling's little thoughts. But he shook his head and said, I'm afraid grandpa won't go. Zhang Yuanqiao's physical condition is one thing. He definitely doesn't want to leave his son and daughter-in-law's side for things like the new year. The last trip there was already the limit. Husband. Then let me ask you something, if my grandpa doesn't go, can you help convince my parents to stay here for the new year? Li Yuan noticed Zhang Yuling's longing eyes and finally nodded. She had already made all preparations, and it seemed that she was bound to have a relatively complete new year. It should be okay with my parents. Since everyone is here, they can't abandon their daughter-in-law and grandson and run back alone, right? Zhang Yuling immediately smiled and said, thank you, husband, I will go and arrange a room for my parents. Li Yuan quickly stopped him and said, my parents live over there. Even if they let their parents live here, they would be embarrassed. It's okay to stay for one night, but for more than 10 days in a row? According to family customs, this is a shameless behavior. Even if both parties don't mind, outsiders will say it. Traditional concepts will also make their stay uncomfortable. Then what should I do? Don't you even miss me? I'll bring my parents over in the morning, and then, you take your parents out shopping, and I'll stay with grandpa here. After all, according to Zhang Yuling, 2 people cannot ride in the same car. Then you must stay here tonight. I miss my husband, I really, really miss. Li Yuan. This damn young womanhood. Then I'll clean up a room for my parents. No hurry, no rush, my husband will take care of me first. Zhang Yuanqiao looked at a large table of dishes with a stiff expression. Li Wanhe and Zhou Wan were also confused. It's been more than 10 minutes since the food was served, but the two young men still didn't come downstairs. Zhang Yuanqiao wanted to find someone to go up and shout, but after thinking about it he gave up. Seeing that the two of them would not be able to get down for a while, he said, "Come on, let's eat first and leave them alone. We'll talk about it later when they are hungry." Li Wanhe and Zhou Wan felt so embarrassed. That bastard of theirs simply didn't care about the occasion. Seeing Zhang Yuanqiao's serious face, neither of them dared to speak. In fact, Zhang Yuanqiao's face is quite good now. What Li Yuan did last time was even more outrageous. He almost pulled out his gun. After the three of them had eaten more than half of their food, Li Yuan and Zhang Yuling went downstairs. After eating a few simple bites, Li Yuan began to take the initiative to arrange a room for his parents. The old couple originally wanted to refuse because they knew that Li Yuan also had a place to live in Zhangzhou. The most important thing is that the old couple needs to have a good talk with Li Yuan. Inexplicably, his son became the richest man in the country. Although countless evidences have proved this, even Zhang Yuling admitted that he was hiding it before. But they still had to ask Li Yuan to confirm. Otherwise, I would be too embarrassed to visit the graves of my ancestors. What do you say when you visit the grave? He didn't even know what his son was doing, so he made money inexplicably. But everyone let them stay tonight, especially Zhang Yuling. It seemed that they didn't want Li Yuan to leave at all, so they could only suppress their impulses. You can call Li Yuan to the room at night and ask. Half an hour later, Li Yuan and the nanny of Zhang Yuanqiao's family prepared the room together, took the two elders to get familiar with it, and then left. "Xiao Yuan, please come to our room later. I have something to tell you." "Ah, good." Then Li Yuan left and didn't come back all night. The old couple waited until after 12 o'clock and finally fell asleep when they couldn't stand it any longer. For Zhang Yuanqiao, it was a very solid sleep. Although he was unhappy with some of Li Yuan's actions, he was still very satisfied with Li Yuan as his grandson-in-law. When I woke up in the morning, I saw Zhang Yuling helping with the dishes and chopsticks. For the first time, he saw the breath of life in Zhang Yuling, which had never appeared before. However, he still said with a straight face, "You have lived in other people's homes for a few months and learned to work." After all, he had to look at things from Zhang Yuling's point of view. "This hasn't passed yet." Zhang Yuling said, "My parents are here for the first time, so they can be regarded as guests. Anyway, I have nothing to do." "Where's Li Yuan?" "He can't be counted as a guest, right?" "He is still sleeping. I have been so tired from work recently and finally got some rest. Let him sleep a little longer." In this situation, Zhang Yuanqiao could only sigh. Good or bad is Zhang Yuling's own choice. He didn't mention a word about Li Yuan's bad things. We've already reached this point, what's the use of mentioning it? Who do you expect to change? No one is better off than shutting up. There are a few people in the world who are not living in a daze. Wait until Zhang Yuling gives birth to the child. If not, then the Zhang family won't be able to support her and the child. Seeing that Li Wanhe and the others had also gotten up, he couldn't say anything more, so he went over to say hello to the two of them and asked how their sleep was last night. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 235. After dinner, Zhang Yuanqiao went to the study. "Well, you can smoke some cigarettes over there." He knew that Zhang Yuling would take Li Wanhe and his wife out for a stroll later, but he didn't expect that at around 9 o'clock, Li Yuan would run over.
He asked in surprise, "Why didn't you go out with them?" "I'm too tired from shopping, and Yuling won't let me follow him." Zhang Yuanqiao was even more surprised. "You two really want to stick together, why aren't you allowed to follow?" Li Yuan said in confusion, "I don't know why, but she suddenly told me that we should never take the same flight, never be in the same car, and it is best to never take the same flight except at home. Don't go out together." One sentence made Zhang Yuanqiao's eyes dim. Only after experiencing something can you be so sensitive. Otherwise, who would consider something with such a low probability? Li Yuan continued, "I always tell you something. Don't be angry if you hear it." "What's up?" Zhang Yuanqiao restrained some emotions. "It's like this, Yuling is going to give birth in June. My parents want to take care of the baby, but they are afraid that you won't agree. They don't dare to talk to you, so they asked me to come over and talk." Zhang Yuanqiao narrowed his eyes and said, "What do you mean?" "Huh? It's not interesting. They just want to keep their children in their hometown. They are worried that if they don't take care of them since childhood, the children will not be close to them when they grow up. After all, they are the children's grandparents, and the neighbors all know it. If the children have been in Zhang, they feel bad about the state." When Zhang Yuanqiao heard this, he wanted to punch Li Yuan. "Good guy, your parents feel bad, but the old man feels bad. If he hadn't heard that Zhang Yuling was pregnant last time, would he have run over 100 kilometers to Li Yuan's house? Then let them talk to me." Zhang Yuanqiao couldn't control Li Yuan, but he could control his parents. The identity of an old leader is quite useful. Of course you have to pick the persimmons soft and pinch them. "They're sorry. They just let me make the decision to talk to you. It's okay if you don't agree." "Then what? Anyway, Yuling has the final say on this matter. I'm just telling you out of respect. It just so happens, Yuling is more obedient to me." Zhang Yuanqiao. "Then you kids still pretended to ask for a long time. It made him, an old man, really make the decision. Then this matter has nothing to do with me?" he asked with a bit of anger. Li Yuan nodded, "It really has nothing to do with you." Zhang Yuanqiao had only one thought: he would not marry his granddaughter, and he would not marry her for life or death. "But then I thought about it, this bastard Li Yuan didn't want to marry in the first place. If I gave him another excuse, wouldn't it make him legitimately become a scumbag? Zhang Yuling probably wouldn't leave him anyway, so not marrying was purely to let Li Yuan take advantage." "It's so early in the morning. Are you deliberately looking for trouble?" "The main thing I want to tell you is that people should serve their old age." After Li Yuan finished speaking, he left, leaving Zhang Yuanqiao gnashing his teeth in the study. Li Yuan's hint was very obvious: either go with him and take care of the children, or live here and be a loner. Now it's not like before. He is an old man and has no say. Besides, the little money in his hand was nothing in Li Yuan's eyes, and his children would not like the little things he left behind, so Zhang Yuanqiao didn't want to use this matter to tease anyone. Zhang Yuanqiao has always been a stubborn person. It is precisely because of his stubbornness that he has not removed the shackles in his heart for so many years, and he is full of guilt for the departure of his son and daughter-in-law. Living in this depressed state is not good for your body. Being visibly thin and old is a typical symptom, and Li Yuan didn't want him to continue like this. In a different environment, I might be able to live a few more years. At noon, Zhang Yuling came back from shopping with the old couple and bought a lot of things, which made the old couple look sad. Because they didn't expect things to be so expensive. They bought a bunch of clothes worth tens of thousands of dollars, but they still haven't paid for them. House, car. He didn't have much money, so Zhang Yuling didn't care if he couldn't afford it. They don't understand the luxury goods that young people like. So after coming back, I threw this problem to Li Yuan and asked him to take charge. Of course Li Yuan will take responsibility and basically repay it 10,000 times. After lunch, Li Yuan took the old couple to where he lived, while Zhang Yuling stayed at his home. Basically, as soon as the car drove out, the old couple felt unrestrained. Zhou Wan was the first to ask uncontrollably, "Xiao Yuan, what have you done in the past year or so since you were in college? Why did you suddenly become the richest man? You didn't do anything illegal, right?" Li Yuan. The first two sentences were fine, but then they started to go awry. But it's normal. Ordinary people have so much money in a short period of time, and it's hard not to think in a wrong direction. After all, the ways to make a lot of money are written in the criminal code. Mom, if I did something illegal, wouldn't Grandpa Yuling know about it? It's just the money I earned. What industry is so profitable? I studied finance in college. Finance is something with leverage. Well, let me give you an example. Someone planted 10,000 caddies of cucumbers, and the wholesale price was 1 yuan per caddy. I took 1,000 yuan and went to the bank. I borrowed 9,000, bought the 10,000 kilograms of cucumbers, and sent them to the market. The market was willing to buy them for $1 or $2. Did I earn 2,000 by just doing this? Is it that easy? No, if the price of cucumbers drops, I will have to lose money. But I'm lucky. I haven't lost much money so far. You see, my funds are leveraged, and I can earn 2,000 yuan a day. 1,000, which is equivalent to doubling. After I have the principal, I continue to borrow money, and I can earn 6,000 the next day. If I continue to borrow money, I can earn 18,000 on the third day. Li Wanhe spoke at this time. Then do you owe a lot of money? I don't owe any money, I've paid it all back. But the 290 billion worth is definitely wrong. I'm guessing it's only 10 to 20 billion now. You can just look at the numbers online and don't take them seriously. Then why didn't you tell your family? The old couple's petty grievances just appeared. Parents actually have a certain desire to control their children. Even if they know they can't help, they still want to know what their children are doing. Regarding this matter, Li Yuan did not hesitate, and directly said, "It's useless to tell you. Besides, I don't know your situation. Is it necessary to tell the whole world if I know this?" Li Wanhe's old face turned red. "We are proud of you. The village keeps talking about how much money the children of this family earn and how much the children of that family earn. Aren't they all the same? It's different. Others only earn hundreds of thousands, millions, or even tens of millions. If the whole world said you were my father, would you believe that you could be kidnapped even if you went to a public toilet? Also, you see how cowardly the old leaders are. If someone from the county comes to give you some banners, and find you some kind of decoration association to be the president, can you refuse? Have some more drinks? Wine, bragging, maybe I'll get a job at the dinner table. I'm so busy that I don't even have time to go back home, so how can I think of doing anything else? Anyway, Yuling is at home, and I'm not short of family money. How you lived before, how you will live in the future. Today is also the day when Li Yuan declares his sovereignty. From now on, no one else will be able to decide on major family matters. Although it will embarrass my parents a bit, for the sake of future stability, I can only do this. Regarding the change of identity and role, everyone will be uncomfortable with it, and Li Wanhe and Zhou Wan are no exception. The two of them have worked hard for half their lives, just to provide a better environment for their son, to watch their son get married and have children, and to enjoy that sense of accomplishment. As a result, I suddenly found that the money I had worked hard to earn for half my life became meaningless. Sons and daughters-in-law look down upon it, and even future grandchildren will have no use for it. Li Wanhe said in a low mood, "Then we won't be able to make any decisions in this family from now on, right? You can make the decision."
You can decide what you want to eat and drink. You can buy what you want and use it as you wish. Although I don't owe money now, my future business will also be leveraged. One mistake may be made, and my net worth will be returned to zero. So please think about it for me and don't let me go bankrupt without knowing it. How can it be that easy? In Li Wanhe's view, that was tens of billions, and he couldn't spend it all in his lifetime. Li Yuan said, "It only takes one night to make me bankrupt. I almost lost 100 billion overnight a few days ago. If I had lost, I would not be the richest man now, but the first debtor. Our family will pay back the debt in 10 lifetimes. I don't know the money. Then why don't we stop doing this? Aren't we also short of money now? What you said is simple. I still have a bunch of projects in hand. If I don't do it, I won't do it. I will have to pay all my money as liquidated damages. In short, don't imagine that I am too rich, and I am not. It's more money than you can spend in a lifetime. As long as you dare to build it, it will take a matter of minutes to spend all that money. But it is definitely enough for now, and there will be no problem with normal expenses." Li Yuan doesn't mind his parents spending money. It doesn't matter if he spends hundreds of thousands or millions every day. "I am most afraid of getting involved in something, which will not only cost me money but also cause trouble." When they arrived at the place where Li Yuan lived, Zhou Wan looked at the big house and said, "Did you buy this house?" "It's rented, but I have a villa of my own. I can live in it next year." Zhou Wan tried the sofa and said, "It's more comfortable than at home and much cleaner." "Then stay here for a few more days." "How can we live longer? I got some chickens and ducks last time and put them all at your grandma's place." "Where does grandma live now?" "They didn't want to live in a building, so they rented a small courtyard in the next village. Your third wife also lives in that area." I tidied up the room for the old couple, and then put in the things Zhang Yuling bought for them. They don't know much about finance. But according to what Li Yuan said, he probably looked like a hawker. The next 2 days were normal. Li Yuan took his parents to Zhang Yuling's place at 9 o'clock every morning, and then Zhang Yuling took the old couple to play in Zhangzhou. "You don't have to buy anything, just go to restaurants, go to scenic spots, and take photos." Li Yuan was responsible for accompanying Zhang Yuanqiao at home. "But although my parents didn't say it, they definitely wanted to go back. There is no familiar person here, and there is no one to talk to. It's okay to stay by force. As long as Zhang Yuling is here, the old couple will never say a word about leaving." However, Li Yuan was not too worried about the elderly at home, so he directly had a showdown with Zhang Yuanqiao that day. "Have you made up your mind? Should you celebrate the New Year in Zhangzhou or go to my hometown? Live here." "Okay, I'll tell Yuling later so I won't embarrass you." "What's wrong with me? This is my home. Isn't it natural for me to celebrate the New Year at my own home?" "Yeah, so it's only natural for Yuling to go to my house to celebrate the New Year, right?" Zhang Yuanqiao thought for a while and said, "Not married yet, so it doesn't count." He wanted to keep Zhang Yuling. Li Yuan smiled and said, "If you say that, I won't be polite. It was teacher Zhang who kept clinging to me. If it weren't for her pregnancy, I wouldn't have thought of marrying her at all. Now you won't go to my house during the Chinese New Year. According to the rules, I don't have to take responsibility for this matter, right?" Zhang Yuanqiao shook his head, "Don't use provocation. I don't want to go yet." "Aren't you planning a villa area over there?" "I'll go there next year, just leave one set for me." He had already relented, mainly because he had chatted with Zhang Yuling several times in the past 2 days. Zhang Yuling seemed to have already discussed it with Li Yuan and would not let go on this matter. Li Yuan sighed, "Okay, I'll go and convince my parents." "What? If they want to go back, let them go back. What's so embarrassing about this?" "Li Yuan, You are always unwilling to leave, and Zhang Yuling will definitely not really leave. If Zhang Yuling stays here, can his parents rest assured? Anyway, it is a dilemma situation, and one party must be persuaded to compromise. That night, after returning to his residence, Li Yuan told his parents about the matter. I didn't get a reply at the first time. Later, my parents stopped mentioning the idea of going back, so the matter was taken as acquiescence. Unknowingly, on the 23rd of the 12th lunar month, the new year has arrived. Li Yuan took his parents back to his hometown today and planned to stay there for a day. It's already very low-key, but it's still known. As soon as I got home, a bunch of people came to the house. He had no memory of those relatives at all. Some of them didn't even know their fathers, and they were stuck for a long time during the introduction. Before this wave of people left, another wave of people came. Local entrepreneurs in the county and some well-known people from the local area. Li Yuan directly reserved a seat in the restaurant, called them over, and did not let them come to his home. His drivers are now secretaries. When Song Jiajia called, he was still a little confused. "Senior, what do you want from me? Jushin Media does not have a holiday. After all, for internet celebrities, such a good theme as the Chinese New Year is also the best time to attract traffic. But Song Jiajia can work from home, after all, there is nothing that requires her to be busy. Well, my dad is going to meet you, then we will pretend we don't know each other. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 236. Song Jiajia, can you stop inking? If you don't go there, you won't be able to make it. Song Dalong was so worried. He was considered a well-known person in several nearby counties. As a result, he asked those people to notify him as soon as they got the news of Li Yuan's return. The results of it? Those guys are so shameless. After receiving the news, he didn't tell him at all, for fear that he would steal their position in the past. County companies like them have almost no chance to come into contact with the richest man in the country. In particular, Li Yuan is in finance and can forcefully have some relationship with any company. A boss of this level can make an unknown company go public by just pulling out a hair on his leg. Song's shares are an example. Because they had no financial support and were maliciously shorted, they almost never had a chance to turn around. The results of it? Before Li Yuan became the richest man, he raised the flag of this company and instantly revitalized the entire stock market. The secondary market is a financing machine for Songco Limited. If they want to expand their scale, they can just raise money directly from the market. Song Dalong's current net worth of more than 4 billion is almost entirely given by Li Yuan. Song Jiajia reluctantly walked out of the room because she really didn't want to go. When Song Dalong saw her like this, he immediately said, "Why don't you put on makeup? Where are your clothes? Why don't you change into new clothes? Dad, what are you doing? I'm not going on a blind date." Who can say this kind of thing well? Song Jiajia. He has a girlfriend, and if you insist on letting me go there, if you want to thank him, just go by yourself. Song Dalong said, "You have a girlfriend? Why haven't I heard of it?" "That doesn't matter, we just know each other. You young people may have more topics in common, and you are both from Zhangzhou University. You follow me so you can find excuses to talk to me." Song Jiajia was helpless and had no choice but to get in the car. "Anyway, I already called. Her family lives in Zishui County. The county where Li Yuan is located is called Qinghe County, which borders each other. The distance between the county seats is only more than 20 kilometers. Normally, it takes 20 minutes.
including some special reasons, such as poor road conditions and traffic jams in the center of the county. It only takes about 40 minutes. Along the way, Song Dalong kept calling people he knew and asked about Li Yuan's current location. After repeatedly confirming that he was at the Hentaing Hotel, he felt relieved. Half an hour later, the car stopped at the entrance of Hentaing Hotel. Seeing the security guard blocking the door, Song Dalong smiled and handed over his business card, saying, "I am the chairman of Song Corporation, please tell Mr. Li." How could he be so polite to the security guard on weekdays? Nowhere in the entire county, let alone the entire city, could stop him. Last year, when the share price of Song's shares was at its highest, it was worth more than 20 billion. He was briefly the richest man in the city. Now it only ranks second. The security guard immediately said, "Mr. Song, please come in quickly. Mr. Li has specifically told me that you can just go in when you come." Song Dalong was surprised. Li Yuan actually knew about him. "Did you specifically explain it?" "This shows what?" One of the security guards led the way. He said with a smile, "That's troublesome. What a big surprise today. When I see Li Yuan later, I'm afraid he will have to find the nearest place for me." Soon, Song Dalong came to the second floor. The conference hall on the second floor has now become a meeting place, and Li Yuan's driver is standing at the door. The security guard handed the business card to the other party. The other party took one look at it, entered the conference hall, and spoke to Li Yuan. In just 2 minutes, Li Yuan walked out. After seeing Song Dalong, before he could speak, Song Dalong reached out his hand excitedly. "Hello, Mr. Li, I'm so excited to see you. Thank you for pulling our Song Corporation shares back from the edge of the cliff." Li Yuan said, "You are too polite. You are an elder. Just call me Xiao Yuan." "How can that be done? Isn't that just relying on one's own strength? Mr. Li's ability is worthy of being the senior of all of us." Song Jiajia on the side was the most speechless. Her father suddenly turned into a licking dog. It's very embarrassing to be with such a father. Li Yuan was helpless and could only change the topic, looked at Song Jiajia and asked, "Who is this?" Song Dalong quickly took over the conversation. "This is my little girl Song Jiajia. She just graduated from college this year. If I had known what Zhangzhou University was like, I would never have let her go to Zhangzhou University. Haha, that's my personal reason. Zhangzhou University is generally good." After Li Yuan finished speaking, he said to Song Jiajia, "Why do I think I have seen you somewhere? Could it be that the senior sister is the beauty of the School of Communication? I have admired your name for a long time, but unfortunately I have never had the chance to meet you." Song Jiajia rolled her eyes. "I'm not the beauty of the college. Have you admitted your mistake?" As soon as she finished speaking, Song Dalong beside her became anxious. "Good guy, people are being polite to you, but you still take it seriously?" And from what Li Yuan said, it is obvious that he has a lot of affection for Song Jiajia. What a good opportunity is this. In the end, Song Jiajia deliberately exposed it. With this kind of personality, even if you Lao ties you a steel rope, it won't work. He hurriedly said, "I brought her here just because of the school relationship between Mr. Li and my daughter. After all, we are old and don't have much in common with Mr. Li. You young people can communicate more." Li Yuan, "Yes, then senior sister Song, let's add her on WeChat. We can have a meal together when we have time." "Yeah." Song Jiajia turned her head away. These words were not hers. Then, she saw her father digging into her pocket. She didn't bring a bag when she went out. She was wearing this thick down jacket and her phone was in her pocket. After Song Dalong took out his cell phone, he put it in Song Jiajia's hand and motioned for her to hurry up. Li Yuan also took out his mobile phone and showed his QR code. Song Jiajia only had one thought, Did Li Yuan do this on purpose? Didn't we agree to pretend we don't know each other? She could only scan the code honestly under Song Dalong's expectant eyes. Seeing that the QR code scanning was over, Li Yuan said, "Mr. Song and senior sister, come in first. I may be busy here for a while. Let's talk again during dinner." "Okay, okay, Mr. Li will get busy first." After Song Dalong finished speaking, he came up to Song Jiajia. Song Jiajia quickly turned off the screen and put up her mobile phone. "But you can't let Dad see the chat history." Song Dalong asked worriedly, "Have you added it?" "Added, waiting for him to pass." "That's good. Look how handsome Li Yuan is and how much he suits your taste. Why can't you take the initiative?" "Dad, I think it suits your taste, right? Don't we, father and daughter, have the same aesthetics? I don't like this. At first glance, he looks like an old pervert, not a serious person." Song Dalong was shocked when he heard this. Fortunately, the scene was quite noisy and Song Jiajia didn't speak very loudly. But it was enough to make him break out in a cold sweat. "What nonsense are you talking about? You talk regardless of the occasion, right? Besides, why do people just do what you said? You are so sunny and handsome, what does it have to do with what you said?" "Oh, got it?" Song Jiajia just accidentally revealed her true thoughts. "It's really inappropriate for this occasion. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I will whip you directly." Song Dalong gave a warning before leading Song Jiajia into the venue. "The people who came today are not only from Qinghe County, but also more or less people from several nearby counties." Li Yuan Guang just got to know everyone and was busy from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. In fact, he really didn't remember a few, but he collected a bunch of business cards. The business card Li Yuan gave was from the company's general manager's office, and Yu's secretary is currently in charge. Yu has a way of dealing with the world, so it's best to let him handle it. In fact, few of these people have an industry with a scale of over 100 million. In the entire industry, they belong to small columni in various industries. Even people like Song Dalong are minor players compared to Li Yuan's capital operations. After getting to know each other, the person from the county government was responsible for arranging lunch. There were more than 60 people sitting at 5 tables in total. Song Dalong thought he could sit at the main table, but when he got to his assigned seat, he realized that there was a shitty main table. At the head table were Li Yuan and the county officials, as well as several local people in Qinghe County worth over 1 billion. He, who was worth more than 4 billion, was from another county, so he could only sit at the table worth over 100 million. "I want to say something to Li Yuan, but I can't reach him at all." At this time, Li Yuan was already too busy. He could only sigh. He hated that he was not from Qinghe County. Song Jiajia on the side didn't care, she just cared about eating. She hadn't even eaten breakfast, and she was already so hungry that her chest was pressed against her back. If her breasts weren't so big, her down jacket wouldn't be able to hold them up. As she ate, she gradually realized something was wrong. Why did the dad sitting next to him suddenly sigh? She was almost full at this time, so she asked, "Dad, what's wrong with you? I see you haven't touched the dishes or chopsticks yet." Song Dalong said helplessly, "Our family raises pigs, but that doesn't mean our family is a pig. Are you curious about this food?" "No, why don't you eat when you're hungry?" "I'm not in the mood. Li Yuan and the others have already finished eating and have gone to a closed-door meeting. They didn't even invite us. How can I still be in the mood to eat?" "Ah." Song Jiajia took a look and saw that Li Yuan's table was indeed empty. Even the nearby tables were empty. Those who stayed were basically the bosses from the neighboring counties. Even if they were worth tens of millions in this county, they all followed. Song Dalong said angrily, "As you said, you know how to eat?
Just now Li Yuan looked over here, but you lowered your head and paid no attention to anyone. I pulled your sleeve hard and you ignored it? Song Jia. She glanced at her down jacket. She had already taken it off and put it on her lap when she was eating. My father made a fool of himself. Dad, it's actually nothing. Talking to him won't do any good. Who says there are no benefits? A few words from a financial tycoon like him will represent the direction of the future. If you grasp one direction, you won't have to cover your head and bump around in the future. Most bosses are very confused. They don't know what they should do and which industry has a future. Even if he is worth tens of millions, he may not be able to spend much money, even during the new year. The main reason is that they cannot seize the trend and can only engage in traditional industries with relatively low profits. For example, if you raise pigs, if the price of pork rises, you can make money for 2 years. But most pork prices are falling, but feed prices have never fallen. It's not that exaggerated. If he had that ability, he wouldn't tell others. You are wrong. He needs to cooperate with others, or let some people do it for him. Anyway, the guys in Qinghe County have been caught this time. In a few years, the richest man in our city will definitely be Qinghe people from the county. Oh, it's okay, it's okay. Dad, please eat something quickly. Don't be hungry. I'm going to the bathroom. Song Jia picked up her down jacket, put it on, and walked out. She is also interested in business, but her philosophy is different from that of her father. She prefers to try through her own abilities, and does not like to be someone else's little brother and listen to other people's arrangements in everything. Jushin media is quite good. Li Yuan only sets some general directions, and most things are decided by her. There is no concept of superiority and inferiority between her and Li Yuan. After a while, she came out of the bathroom and saw Li Yuan wiping his hands there. Li Yuan smiled and said, "What a coincidence, senior sister Song. You have the nerve to say, why do you insist on knowing me for no reason? I was scolded by my father. Haha, didn't I catch up at that time? How was your meal, senior? How about I treat you to a meal alone later? No, I can't eat anymore. If you have time, just chat with my dad. It doesn't have to be much. I think he is very disappointed that he couldn't chat with you today. He hasn't eaten yet. That's okay, but you can go to the conference room with me later. There are several collaborators there. You can make some notes for me. I don't have a secretary with me. No. I'm just here to eat. We don't know each other, so don't look for me." After Song Jia finished speaking, she hurriedly left. She heard footsteps coming this way. When Song Jia arrived at the banquet hall, she saw someone sitting next to her father, chatting there. "Boss Song, weren't your Song shares listed by Qingtian Capital? Why didn't Mr. Li invite you in? I'm afraid this is not good news for stock investors. It seems that I have to sell my Song shares as soon as possible. Otherwise, the stock price may not be able to hold up until the stocks in Qingtian Capital's hands are lifted." Song Jia saw her father's face look ugly and very disappointed. Indeed, if this scene were to spread today, everyone would definitely think that Qingtian Capital and Song shares were going to break up, or that Li Yuan was not optimistic about Song shares at all. Then the funds brought in the past will also be lost in a short period of time. Song Jia thought about how she didn't give Li Yuan face just now. If they were friends, it would be okay, as everyone could get along as equals. But from a higher perspective, the two sides seemed to be unequal. Li Yuan most likely took a stake in the Song family just because of her face. After thinking about it, she sent a message to Li Yuan. "I promised to take the meeting minutes for you. If you ask someone to come out and call me, well, you must call me. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it." Author,
Lao He. Chapter 237. Song Jiajia was deeply afraid that Li Yuan wouldn't see it, so she called him. But after it rang, it hung up. Then, she returned to her seat and said to the man, "Hello, uncle, this is my seat." The middle-aged man didn't say anything, got up and left. He is a tea business owner in the next county town and is worth nearly 1 billion. I wasn't invited by Li Yuan today, so I felt a little uncomfortable. Seeing that Song Dalong was not invited, he exchanged a few words to try to find some psychological balance for himself. Song Dalong was not invited either? As for what to say to Song Jiajia, there is absolutely no need. The two sides are not on the same level. What's the point of arguing with a junior? It would be embarrassing if word spread. But just as he returned to his seat and sat down, he saw Li Yuan's secretary coming to Song Jiajia and saying in a medium voice, "Miss Song, the boss invites you to go to the conference room." Song Dalong's mentality was shattered by a few words 1 second, but he became excited the next second. "Although it's not me, the same goes for my daughter." On this occasion, Li Yuan called Song Jiajia over, making it clear that he wanted to give her a chance. Did Li Yuan have a crush on his daughter when he was in college? Later, after knowing his daughter's identity, he took action to save Song's shares? He has never been able to figure out why Li Yuan is interested in Song's shares. Judging from today's meeting, Li Yuan's focus is more on Song Jiajia. Iron secret love. No more running. Song Jiajia glanced at her father, and Song Dalong said anxiously, "Why don't you go quickly, so many people are waiting." He couldn't say that Li Yuan was waiting, otherwise it would look like Li Yuan was an old pervert. "Well, I'll go first then." After Song Jiajia finished speaking, she followed Li Yuan's driver to the conference room. As soon as she left, someone immediately gathered around and said, "Mr. Hu, what's the relationship between your lady and Mr. Li?" "Mr. Li personally appointed someone this time." Song Dalong said with a smile, "Nothing, just a university alumnus. He met my daughter before Mr. Li made a name for himself. It's just a pure classmate relationship." Xiaonian is a very special day. Because it is not a legal holiday, the market is still open at this time. Inexplicably, Song's shares reached their daily limit in late trading. It can be said that the market was very difficult last year. There was a lot of funds that needed to be withdrawn for the new year, and it was basically unlikely that there would be any good market conditions. Then there were unknown rumors confirming that Li Yuan was in a relationship with the daughter of Song Corporation. Therefore, Song's shares naturally became the first one with the theme of Li Yuan's love stocks. In the conference room, Song Jiajia sat next to Li Yuan and listened to Li Yuan's chat with everyone. Li Yuan said openly that it was okay to invest, but he had to choose an investment direction. When Song Jiajia finished recording, Li Yuan took it over, took a look at it, and said, "I have read the proposals of several leaders and bosses. Improving the competitiveness of the entire county will not happen overnight, nor does it mean that I invest hundreds of people with over 100 million yuan, a competitive industry will be created immediately. Let's go step by step. I will choose a few directions first as the first batch of pilot projects, which can be regarded as laying a solid foundation here. As long as the first batch of pilot projects can be done well, it will be convenient for me to increase investment in the future. Otherwise, based on the current carrying capacity of the county, no matter how much money I invest, it will only be idle here." Some nodded, some remained silent. Li Yuan continued, "The first is the real estate sector. I don't require a core location, just close to Yaya Lake. It is 3 or 4 kilometers away from the county seat. I can invest in a mixed commercial and residential area with a scale of not less than 1 billion. When it comes to real estate, people don't necessarily have to live in it once it's built. The most important thing is the covering process. This process will provide a large number of jobs,
and those wages will be converted into consumption for the entire county. As for the land, it must be free, and it's not far from the county seat. In fact, the location chosen by Li Yuan is very good, but it is inconsistent with the development direction of the county. The county town was developing southward, and Li Yuan wanted the land in the north. Next to it is the Beijing-Kowloon Expressway, the train station, and the planned high-speed rail station. Overall, it can avoid the congestion in the county town. After all, the county town has been planned for many years, and the central area has long been outdated, and it does not have much significance for demolition. But I still have one request, that is, the roads must be repaired. I have lived in the county for so many years, and I know very well what the roads in the county look like. When my classmate returned to his hometown, he did not finish repairing a 20-kilometer road in 3 years of high school. I barely finished the construction during my freshman year, but the road I built at the beginning was broken again. Since I invested, I must do a long-term project. Transportation is very important to us. I can't accept that roads should be built every now and then. To put it bluntly, road construction is an unspoken rule. In places with poor economies, they rely on this to subsidize their lives. Every leader, please consider this. We have only reached a preliminary intention today. Then I will invest no less than 200 million to build the largest hospital in the county nearby. I will be responsible for both equipment and personnel. Of course, in terms of personnel, we will give priority to local people under equal conditions. Then there is the agricultural product purchase base. I can spend 10 million every year on the purchase, but I will arrange for people to operate the specific purchase. Li Yuan can't do this project yet, so he's speaking conservatively. At this time, someone spoke up and said, "Mr. Li, there are many agricultural workers in the county. Can we increase investment in agricultural products? Ordinary farmers have no sales channels, and many agricultural products are not competitive. It doesn't matter if the price is low." Li Yuan nodded and said, "Okay, then we will add another 20 million, with a guaranteed minimum of 30 million a year for agricultural products." Someone spoke, and the conversation seemed to start. One after another, someone started to say, "Mr. Li, Sanhuaco Limited is the only listed company in the county. I wonder if Qingtian Capital can inject capital." Li Yuan shook his head, "This is not something I can decide now. When I go back, I need all departments in the company to come up with data for discussion." "Are you kidding me? Sanhuaco Limited is a garbage company that raises chickens. I'm afraid it will be in dire straits by now. It's just a step away from St. This kind of rubbish company has absolutely no investment value. It requires technology but not technology, and it requires management but not management. The accounts are probably all confusing. Mr. Li, in terms of funds, is it managed by the county? I will set up a company here to be responsible for the business here. My person in charge will cooperate with the county government when the time comes, and I will trouble everyone. Give money? That is impossible." Some of the subsequent proposals became more and more naked, with the words "paying money" written on their faces. Except for the one who initially proposed increasing the purchase amount of agricultural products, Li Yuan did not agree to anything else. No matter you are the CEO of a listed company or the top leader in the county, Li Yuan doesn't bother to talk to you. Through today, he also conducted a screening of the surroundings. It's true that some people are pretty good, but most of them are outrageous. It's a bit like Ye Sheng and Yao Ying Song. It's obvious who he should choose. This money was used as a way to ask questions, and it also blocked the mouths of this group of people, so that they would bother their parents less in the future. If someone dares to cause trouble, it doesn't matter whether you are the CEO of a listed company or a person with a strong say. If you can get rid of it, get rid of it. If you can't get rid of it, you will find a way to get rid of it. He just set his home here because it is relatively easy to operate, but it does not mean that he can put his work here. After working for nearly an hour and finalizing some details, Li Yuan made excuses and left. He only remembered one name from this meeting, Cao Ping. Song Dalong kept staring at the conference room without blinking until the door of the conference room opened. As a result, after watching for a long time, Song Jiajia and Li Yuan were not seen. He hurried over and asked, "County Chief Cao, where is my daughter?" Cao Ping was stunned for a moment. Not only did he know Song Dalong, but he had also negotiated the 2 farms owned by Song Company in Qinghe County. However, he was not in charge of this meeting, so he could not leave a place for Song Dalong. "Boss Song, your daughter?" "Yes, that's the one who was called in by Li Yuan." The group of people in the conference room were stunned. They didn't notice Song Jiajia's presence at all at first. Later, Li Yuan called Song Jiajia to come in. They thought it was the clerk Li Yuan had specially hired. That girl turned out to be Song Dalong's daughter? Is it true that the co-authorship rumor that Li Yuan is related to Song Corporation is true? So if Song Dalong is not given a position today, it will offend someone. Cao Ping reacted the fastest and said, "Boss Song, don't worry." Miss Song and Mr. Li walked out of the back door together. Looking at the appearance of Mr. Li and Miss Song, I'm afraid they want to congratulate Boss Song in advance. Li Yuan is no longer stingy today and has promised an investment of more than 1 billion. It's just that some people who didn't get the benefits were dissatisfied. He was quite satisfied. Now that Song's shares have such a relationship with Li Yuan, it is inevitable that they will take off next. Not to mention the richest man in the city, even the richest man in the province has hope. Song Dalong said modestly, "Nothing, the 2 of them are just classmates. I don't know the specific situation. I only know that Nizai has to come with me. I didn't plan to bring her with me." Just like when he was a child, Song Dalong visited relatives' houses during the New Year. When he left, he said he didn't want any red envelopes and opened his pockets. At this moment, the identity suddenly changed. In fact, he really didn't expect it to be so soon. When someone started to put forward the concept of Li Yuan love stock on the internet, he realized how powerful Li Yuan's title as the richest man was. He is different from other richest men. The other richest men have been famous for a long time, and it is not an accident to ascend to the throne. Li Yuan has only been famous for a few months. No one could have imagined that he had the ability to compete for the position of the richest man, but he succeeded. This is an individual's ultimate fantasy about their own wealth. Basically, when it reaches this point, no matter how big your imagination is, it will be difficult to continue to rise. Li Yuan, actually I am using you today. Use what? Well, it's just that my dad was laughed at, and I just wanted to use your name to win him back. What? Senior sister, you've made me miserable. Is it that serious? Li Yuan took out his mobile phone, found a piece of relevant news, opened the comment area, and handed it to Song Jiajia. Look, people are saying that we are in love now, and they even made a story about me being in love. If you do this, senior sister, my reputation will be completely ruined. Isn't your reputation finished a long time ago? You are scolded by Wen Yuxian's fans every day. Some people say that you spent 100 million just to transfer your little girlfriend to another school. It is also said that you brought a girlfriend back live at home. How did you know? Except for the Wen Yuxian incident, the other 2 incidents have basically not been circulated on the internet. They belong to some niche gossip and have no convincing power. Song Jiajia hurriedly explained, I have seen too much. Besides, I am in the media, so I must know these things very well. Besides, with your personality, I think you can do those things. Li Yuan nodded, indeed. Then you admit it? Yes, I must admit what I did. But senior sister,
they ruined my reputation, and I have already collected interest from them. Now that you ruin my reputation, we should go through the process, right? Song Jiajia's eyes widened. Ruin his reputation? Isn't it because he ruined the reputation of other girls? It's as if it's a very honorable thing for me to fall in love with a scumbag. What process do you want to go through? Come home with me. This sentence immediately frightened Song Jiajia. Just as she was about to get in the car, she immediately took a few steps back and ran into the hotel. Li Yuan took care of himself and got into the car, preparing to go back first. Today's situation was a little better than expected, and he also found an opportunity to buy Song's shares. There is no difference between off-market operations and intra-market operations. They are both for making money. This year is not good news for pork. Swine fever is raging. It can be said that the entire industry has just begun to show signs of recovery, but has been suppressed. But similarly, without this swine fever, there would not be a big pork market in the next 2 years. It's almost 10 times the market price. The basic market of Song's shares is still good. With a little operation, it can be a 10-fold or even 20-fold stock. Li Yuan asked the driver, "Uncle Cai, do you know Cao Ping?" The driver said awkwardly, "Is the boss talking about the person in the meeting today?" This, I may not be able to remember it. There were too many people here today, and there were more than 30 people in the conference room. He is really just a driver. He was reluctantly pulled in to deal with this situation today. It is impossible to expect him to remember everyone. Especially since Cao Ping didn't say much today, his impression was even shallower. Li Yuan actually remembered only one person today, so he asked specifically. "Then you can give me the business card of the chairman of Song Corporation later. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it." Author, Lao He. Chapter 238. Chapter 238 Stocks, Money. After Song Jiajia came back, she didn't hide it from her father. When he got on the bus, he invited Li Yuan to him, but told the truth about her refusal, so that his father would not be worried. He thought his father would be angry, but to his surprise, his father became silent after hearing this. After about a few minutes, Song Dalong sighed. "Sigh, our family is destined to live a life of overwork." Song Jiajia said helplessly, "Dad, how can it be that exaggerated? Our family is not better than most families." Song Dalong immediately said, "You are not involved in the enterprise. Do you know how many years our family has been raising pigs? 20 years ago, our family raised more than 800 pigs. We could not afford to hire anyone and had to work as a family. I'm different from you. I can only stay in the pig farm whether after school or on vacation. I either feed the pigs or clean up the manure. I smell like pig manure all day long. In the classroom, the teacher only dares to leave me alone. Sit in the corner. You must have heard the saying that if a family has a lot of wealth, it does not count the hair. This is the case with pig raising. Every few years, there is bound to be a serious illness. All the money earned in the past few years will be lost within a year. Our family can make a lot of money every year, but do you see the money saved? The combined wealth of the 3 generations of our family is less than 500 million. If another accident occurs, this amount of money will be enough to compensate for half a year. This is also the reason why I insist on going public even though I don't understand it. If I don't go public, my family will never have much money. Jiajia, if I have a choice, I really don't want to raise pigs. This is not a job for humans. I want to get out of this trap and use the money to do some projects to ensure harvests during droughts and floods. I would rather have a stable income of tens of millions a year than be worried year after year, taking an extra nap and not knowing what will happen. Can you understand that feeling?" Song Jiajia couldn't pick her up because she rarely went to the pig farm.
It's not that she dislikes it, but the family doesn't let girls go, and it's not a good place. It can also be seen from this that the family wants to transform and no longer wants to raise pigs every day. But transformation is not that easy, and there is not much capital to invest. Buying a house or a shop in a big city is basically the only thing you can do. Song Dalong continued, this time it is your own choice. Although I am very disappointed, who made you my daughter? I must respect your wishes. Regarding your marriage, no matter what you choose, I will not impose it. Intervening will only give you some advice from the standpoint of a father. Song Jia burst into tears. It is really a blessing to have a reasonable father. Dad, I will definitely. Before she finished speaking, Song Dalong's cell phone rang. When Song Dalong answered the phone and heard the voice on the other side, he immediately licked his face and said with a smile, Mr. Lee, hello, hello. This girl Jia is just shy, nothing else. Eat? Okay, okay, it must be fine. We are still in Qinghe County now. What you said is too polite. It is her blessing that Jia can get your favor. I have already told her that I firmly support Mr. Lee on this matter. Okay, 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 okay. Song Jia looked at her father's shameless look and felt that all the emotion she had just felt was lost on the dog. Dad, that's not what you just said. Song Dalong's face was stern and he said, just now, I thought you offended Li Yuan. Anyway, there is no chance. I must show up as a good father in front of you. But now Li Yuan wants to invite us during dinner, just pretend that I haven't said those things before, and remember to communicate with them later. Let's look at this opportunity to change the Song family. Dad, do you ever feel like you're a little shameless? Song Dalong said with a smile, how much is face worth? Back then, the pig farm owed tens of millions of dollars in debt. Your grandfather worked from the beginning of the village to the end of the village, and they agreed to postpone the repayment for a few months. No bullshit face can compare with money. Keep it tight. When the stock price of Song's shares rises, I will cash out part of the money. You can start a business or use it as a dowry. Anyway, you will earn more than working hard to raise pigs in a lifetime. What Song Dalong didn't say was that if there was another problem in the pig farm, he would have to kowtow. In the past, when raising funds, we took money from the village and promised to pay a certain amount of interest every year. Now when I get money, I get it from some big bosses, who are not as easy to talk to as the people in the village. Even kowtowing is useless. Okay, okay, you can eat, but I have to go home with you in the evening. Damn it, what age are you now, why are you still so conservative? Song Jia. Am I being conservative? Isn't there something wrong with your thinking? Then I won't go. Go, I'll take you home to the head office tonight, right? Oh, that's fine. Half an hour later, the two came to a fishing village. The water system in Qinghe County is relatively developed, and fish and shrimp farming is also the main industry here. However, farmed fish are basically supplied to outsiders, and various restaurants here like to use wild fish. Not to mention whether it is nutritious or not, at least it tastes really good. As soon as he got out of the car, Song Dalong said with emotion, at first glance, Mr. Lee seems to be a person who understands life. Only Lao Tai likes to come to this kind of restaurant. Song Jia only responded with a blank stare. Li Yuan isn't here either. You're just trying to flatter me. After entering the box, Li Yuan came over after waiting for more than 10 minutes. Song Dalong greeted him warmly. Although Li Yuan was very polite, he couldn't be really polite. When the food was served, he just took a few bites. After about half an hour, he found an excuse and left, leaving the private room to Song Jia and Li Yuan. After all, he was always by his side, so there was no chance for the two of them to talk quietly.
Li Yuan was about to finish his meal and talk to Song Dalong about Song's shares, but Song Dalong didn't come back after he left. Song Jiajia only has food in her eyes and doesn't seem to care about these things at all. "Where's your dad?" Li Yuan asked. "I don't know, but it will definitely be fine. He is very familiar with this place. Didn't he say he wanted to talk to me? Why did he leave before he even said a few words? It's not that he wants to talk to you, but that he wants me to talk to you. Well, that's probably what he means. Do you understand?" "I don't understand. Could you please explain me more clearly, senior sister?" Song Jiajia said, "How else can you understand? Who made you the richest man, and you happen to be born into my father's weakness, so that he can't even take care of his daughter's emotions." "Haha, what is your dad's weakness?" "Stocks, money. How could it be such a coincidence? I'm only good at these two. You eat slowly, and I'll go talk to my father-in-law." Song Jiajia's eyes widened immediately. "What father-in-law? It's not yours." "That's my dad." "He's definitely not my father-in-law, but when did he become your father-in-law?" "It is precisely because he is your father that you can become my father-in-law. Not everyone can be my father-in-law. Do you want to explain what you just said?" "I'll go find my father-in-law and take it easy." After Li Yuan finished speaking, he put down his chopsticks and walked out of the box. Song Jiajia lost her appetite. Li Yuan found Song Dalong at the door. At this time, Song Dalong was smoking in the cold wind. "Uncle Song, why don't you go in?" After hearing the sound, Song Dalong quickly put out his cigarette butt and said, "I'll go right away. I just took a call outside and was a little delayed." Li Yuan glanced at the tea house opposite and said, "Then let me invite Uncle Song to have a cup of tea and warm his hands first." "How can I ask you to invite me?" "I'll just ask you." Li Yuan was a little confused. Song Dalong was a very cautious person. Why did he go public so recklessly last year? It is difficult to change a person's character, and everything he does will reveal his character. After going to the tea house and ordering a pot of tea, Song Dalong waited for Li Yuan to sit down before he dared to sit down halfway. This is the legendary sitting upright. "Uncle Song, please don't be polite to me. I have a very good relationship with my senior sister. You are just like my elders. If you are polite again, I won't be able to adapt to it." Song Dalong smiled and said, "You're welcome, you're welcome, I'm usually like this." While talking, tea was served. Song Dalong wanted to pour tea for Li Yuan immediately, but he couldn't keep up. Li Yuan poured tea for Song Dalong and said, "Uncle Song, why do you want to list Song's shares?" Song's financial reports in the past 2 years are quite good, with net profits of several hundred million per year. There is no need to list it. This topic successfully attracted Song Dalong from other aspects. He sighed and said, "There is no way. The price of pork has been good in the past 2 years. In 2016, the average price was 15. Although it fell briefly in 2017, it rose to 19 in the second half of the year. It was also in these 2 years. The reason why we can make some money. But our family has been raising pigs for more than 20 years, and the pig cycle has gone through one round after another. Every time the price of pork rises, it is a short-term happiness for us, followed by its just pain that lasts for several years. The main reason is that as pork prices rise and profits rise, more farmers will enter the market. As a result, domestic pig production capacity has been over capacity for several years, necessitating internal competition. Pork often drops to freezing point at this stage, and even the feed cost cannot be recovered. Not to mention the labor costs. At present, for 19 yuan per kilogram of pork, they can make a gross profit of 40% and a net profit of about 25%. Over the course of a year, you will definitely earn a lot of money.
but once it enters a downward cycle, you will lose 3 to 500 yuan when selling a pig. In 1 year, you will lose the profits of the previous 2 years. Song Dalong knows very well that the downward cycle will arrive in the second half of 2018 at most, and he doesn't know when it will end. End of year? That's okay, the family can support it. End of 2 years? Just borrow money to maintain it, I guess I can survive. But if it takes 3 or 4 years to end, his whole family will have to drink the northwest wind. This cycle is not fixed, because most pig farms must go bankrupt before it is over and the next cycle can begin. If everyone bites the bullet and persists, this downward cycle will be particularly long. After going public, the company will have financing channels and can be cashed out through stocks to ensure financial flexibility. So he was very urgent and didn't even want to postpone it until this year. Li Yuan said, "Don't think too much. I feel that the real pork cycle has not yet come." As soon as these words came out, it was a shot in the arm for Song Dalong. Li Yuan not only has a sense of finance, but also a sense of business that complements each other. The richest man's vision is definitely different from his. With your words, I feel relieved. I will expand the scale even more when I go back. Okay, if you need financing then, just give me a call. Based on my relationship with my senior, I will definitely help. Song Dalong said excitedly, "Mr. Liahem, Li Yuan, where are you and Jia now?" Li Yuan said, "I don't know for sure, but the senior sister should have a good impression of me." Song Dalong: "Why is there something wrong with this?" Song Jia didn't show any good feelings at all. But what Li Yuan said made it impossible for him to doubt it. Li Yuan continued, "I remember I said before that I don't like girls who put on makeup. This time my senior came to see me without makeup. It should be more difficult for girls to go out without makeup." Bar. Song Dalong understood it in an instant. No wonder he asked Song Jia to dress up, but Song Jia refused. She has long known that Li Yuan doesn't like girls who wear too much makeup. After grasping such details, you still dare to say that you don't like Li Yuan? This girl has a way of telling the truth. That's for sure. Being able to pay attention to such details means that I care about your opinion. Don't worry, I'll leave Jia to me. She is a little reserved now and doesn't show it well. Li Yuan smiled and said, "Uncle Song, we can handle matters like feelings ourselves. As the elders, let's give you some guidance to avoid conflicts between you due to some misunderstandings." "That would be a pity." "Yes, then I'll trouble Uncle Song." Li Yuan wants to hype up this love stock. The greater his influence in A shares, the easier the subsequent operations will be. A shares will always be the main battlefield, but now it is too complicated and he cannot grasp it. Anyway, he didn't take advantage of Song Jia, so everyone just got what they wanted. He must ensure that his elements are diversified. Falling in love can also affect the stock market, and raising a company can also affect the stock market. Even an unintentional word can bring a certain section to a daily limit. As long as someone can follow his lead and make money, he will be a bellwether and can crush the northbound funds inside. This is what I should do. I also want Jia to have a good home. Li Yuan said, "Then I want to take my senior sister to go shopping in the evening. The county town is still very lively and the New Year atmosphere is strong. I just don't know if it will delay your return home." Song Dalong quickly waved his hand, "No delay, no delay. We won't go back tonight. We will stay in the county seat. You can play as long as you want. I'm just afraid that my senior sister won't be willing to come out. I asked her to come to my house in the afternoon, but she wasn't very happy. Leave this matter to me, and I guarantee that she will be happy to go out with you at night." Song Dalong patted his chest and said confidently, "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 239. At around 9 o'clock in the evening, Li Yuan took Song Jiajia to visit the night market in the county town. Even in the coldest month of winter, it is still very lively because of the Chinese New Year atmosphere, and all kinds of shops are open. When the shopping was almost over, Song Jiajia found a corner and said to Li Yuan, "What on earth do you want to do? My dad said you want to withdraw the funds in Song's shares. If you want to withdraw, just withdraw. If you have to follow, what did he say he was doing?" Li Yuan. What a heck, he withdrew. He couldn't trade for half a year after raising the sign. Even if it was transferred to someone else, at this time, would anyone be willing to take over? Everyone went there because of his reputation. If he wanted to leave, whoever took over would have a brain problem. To put it bluntly, Song's shares are valuable only for the concept of Li Yuan's love, and are of no use at all. He guessed that Song Dalong had made such an excuse, and there was no need for him to expose him. "There's nothing I can do. You're ignoring me, so I can only use some means." Song Jiajia was stunned. "Li Yuan, are you sure you are telling the truth? Why should I ignore you? If you want to have a serious relationship, I will not refuse even if I am not mentally ill. But you are. No, I just want to sleep with you. Get out of here." Song Jiajia was really fed up with this kind of directness. Who does Li Yuan think he is, that he doesn't even bother to lie? After saying this, Song Jiajia was ready to leave. Li Yuan's voice came from behind, "I really want to withdraw my capital from Song's shares, and Song's shares will soon be worthless. You don't doubt my ability to bankrupt Song's shares, right?" Song Jiajia stopped, stamped her feet, and silently turned back. "Do we have to end up in such an embarrassing situation?" "Li Yuan, there's no embarrassment. Isn't it a pleasure to get along with you? You call this pleasure? Isn't it? Song's shares have become a topic, the stock price has risen, your father is happy, and I am happy. From the beginning to the end, you have not lost anything. I have never even touched your hand. If there is still a loss, all I can say is, it wasn't me. Then you just said you wanted to. Hey, can't you even think about it? It's not illegal for me to think about it. Otherwise, I'll announce our breakup immediately." Song Jiajia sighed and said, "Let's do this for now. I'll buy you whatever you want to eat. Buy some kebabs and feed them to me." Song Jiajia didn't say anything and silently went to a nearby stall. Li Yuan has already planned it. There are not many circulating shares of Song's shares now, because the Song family holds too many. Song Dalong holds 39%, Song Dalong's brothers and sisters add up to 26%, plus the 5% held by Song Jiajia's grandfather, the total is 70%. Brokerages hold 10%, and only 20% of the shares are outstanding. He also raised more than 5% of these circulating shares, so only a little over 14% are actually circulating. In March, it will be time for the first reduction of holdings, and someone from the Song family will definitely reduce their holdings. This point should be high. But after that, he will announce his breakup with Song Jiajia and start reducing his holdings. As he reduces his holdings, the stock price will inevitably plummet, and the Song family will have no chance to reduce its holdings. At that time, it was also the best time for me to enter. Coinciding with the impact of swine fever, it is not a big problem to inject capital into Song's shares and acquire 30% of the shares. First of all, let the Song family taste some sweetness, and secondly, I don't need to have any dissatisfaction with the Song family. The Song family can't find any fault in the whole process. If this love operation had not been carried out, People would definitely feel uncomfortable after the swine fever came and tried to take advantage of the situation to rob the Song family's stocks. Besides, if you want 30% of the stock, what are you going to do? Basically, they will be defined as enemies by the Song family. Now through the hype, let the Song family cash out part of it themselves, at least 5 to 10 points. After the number of circulating shares on the market increases, he can inject capital again. Even if he can only get 20% of the shares, Song's shares are close to falling into his hands. Reducing the Song family's shareholding in the company is a good thing for him, and it is also a good thing for market operations. Li Yuan had no reason to refuse this kind of money that he could earn with almost no need to use his brain. It's nothing more than creating a few pieces of news and eventually getting tens of billions. It's not too simple. Now Li Yuan can't think about the overall situation, he can only think about himself. Make money for yourself first. He deserves this money. Without him, even if Song's shares survive the big market next year and the year after, it will only double or triple. 5 times is a luxury. Anyway, this year, he relies on dating to maintain his popularity. A shares are not interesting, and DAI funds cannot be made public. At around 11 o'clock, Li Yuan accompanied Song Jiajia to the hotel and stayed for half an hour before leaving. After returning home, I saw that my parents had not rested yet, and there were a lot of things in the house. Although they are not very valuable, my parents still made a special calculation. You don't have to worry about the ones given to your grandparents, but you definitely have to return the ones sent to your parents. After he came back, he was glanced at by Zhou Wan. Li Wan he came to Li Yuan's room and whispered, "What did you do when you went out this time? Your mother heard that you were in love with so-and-so again." Li Yuan packed up the quilt and said, "It's just some commercial hype. Just don't take it seriously." "Who is hyping this up?" Li Yuan said helplessly, "Dad, how many of those celebrities get married not for publicity? Those who seriously want to get married do so in a low-key manner and will not let the outside world know at all. In short, Yuling is silent about this matter. Just pretend you didn't see it. If someone asks, you won't be able to explain this clearly. My parents still can't accept the idea of emotional fraud." Li Wan he sighed, "Hey, okay, but you can't do it for real." Li Yuan simply washed his face and went to bed. He really didn't want to take a shower in the winter, especially since there was no floor heating here and the room was extremely cold. Qinghe County is located in the south, but the lowest temperature in winter can be -10 degrees Celsius. At this time, it is already 2 or 3 degrees below zero at night. It feels good to have the 4 seasons scattered, but Li Yuan is used to a comfortable environment and is a little uncomfortable coming back suddenly. The most taboo thing for people is to have their threshold raised invisibly. Just like girls who work hard in big cities, few are willing to go back to their hometown to get married. The only person around him who was suitable to get along with his parents was Zhang Yuling. In a sense, Zhang Yuling caught his weakness. When I woke up, it was already the 24th day of the 12th lunar month. They were supposed to return to Zhangzhou today, but their parents obviously underestimated the effect of fame. Some even began to hint at homestead issues. After knowing the identity of Li Yuan, the richest man, he wanted to stay in the village. But Li Yuan can't make the decision in this matter. It wasn't until the end that everyone found out that Li Yuan had bought a villa in Zhangzhou, so everyone didn't dwell on this issue. If Li Yuan doesn't come back to live, it's meaningless. They now live in a resettlement community, which is only more than 400 meters away from their previous home. The community is quite good, with elevators and security access. Zhou Ranran's family also rented a house here and did not buy a new house. Li Yuan brought something from home to Zhou Ranran's house, something with a relatively short shelf life. After Wang Qi opened the door, Li Yuan saw Zhou Ranran sitting on the sofa. Zhou Ranran was visibly fatter. She suddenly saw Li Yuan coming over and seemed a little embarrassed because she was eating. There was nothing she could do about gaining weight. How did you come? Li Yuan sat aside and said, Sister Ran is more voluptuous than before. Zhou Ran. If you want to say I'm fat, just say it. Her height of 170 centimeters has now reached 130 kilograms. Before, it was only between 100 and 105 pounds. You really can't compare with richest man Li's little girlfriend. She's tall, thin, and has a great figure. Li Yuan, no, Yuling has gained a lot of weight recently, almost like Sister Ran. I didn't say Yuling. Huh? Then who else do I have as a girlfriend? Oh, it's only been one night, and you've already eaten everything and don't admit it? You spent so much time shopping at the night market with me last night, and you went to the hotel for so long. Waiter, the county town is my territory. What happened to Li Yuan at the night market stall last night has been reported on the internet, and someone took some photos. Zhou Ran knows more, because there are more younger brothers following her now. The county seat is just the size of a palm, so it's easy to know what news there is. Haha, we haven't seen each other for only 2 or 3 months, and Sister Ran is becoming more and more mature. But it's better to have less contact with them, so as not to implicate you in the future. Zhou Ran shook his head and said, it's better than nothing. Many friends lead to many paths besides. Now I'm leading them to do self-media work, catching fish and shrimps, and cracking down on counterfeiting in the market. There is no threshold for them, and they are free. It is impossible to expect those people to work in honest jobs. Fortunately, with the rise of self-media, Zhou Ran also learned some ideas from Li Yuan. Currently, her media company has several accounts with tens of thousands of fans. The quality is definitely not comparable to that of Jushin Media, and it's not even that formal. Her thinking is able to move people, and she has confidence. If you commit a crime one day, you can ask them to cover you so you don't get caught. Li Yuan. Zhou Ran is so thoughtful. Sister Ran, don't you want to do something nice? It's just a statement. When I find a good candidate, I will give it to you Jushin Media to make up for your loss of letting Hazi go. Li Yuan didn't expect Zhou Ran to still remember this incident. Letting Lu Hao go did cause some losses, but that was the opinion of Lu Hao's parents. Lu Hao himself had that idea, and it had nothing to do with Zhou Ran. There's no loss. The other party gave me 300 million anyway. I asked people from the company to keep an eye on it and asked Hazi to sign a 3-year contract with them for 100 million. The liquidated damages are only 300 million. It can be said that he has done his best to Lu Hao. Lu Hao currently has a new account, and the number of fans has increased rapidly. In just 2 months, he has 4 to 5 million fans. On the surface, it is a second hair replacement, but in fact, no one can say what the data will be like. Zhou Ran said, it was you who promoted Hazi to where he is now. You have enough influence in the fishing circle. You must have lost 300 million. But his parents are very happy. The girl will come back to celebrate the new year this year. Hazi sent me a message 2 days ago, saying that he had bought a house in Zhangzhou and planned to use it as a new house for his wedding. Well, then bring me one when the time comes. Huh? Why don't you go and take a look then? Li Yuan shook his head, if you don't go, it will only cause trouble. What about Xiaxi, Xiao, and Xiaoliu? You don't want to see them either. See you, let's wait until after the new year. On the 3rd and 4th day of the Lunar New Year, Sister Ran calls out for me and I'll treat them to a meal. If Hazi wants to come, just call over. Just don't bring your girlfriend. Zhou Ran breathed a sigh of relief. With Li Yuan's current status, it is normal for him not to see his friends. After all, we are no longer in the same world. Immediately afterwards, Li Yuan said, Sister Ran,
they can't be the masters of their parents now, and they will have no chance of being the masters of their lives in the future. It's okay to help a little, but don't take their affairs on yourself. It is understandable that those guys want to meet with me. Whether it is personal feelings or family persuasion, I can understand it. But their parents didn't take Joe Ran seriously at all, and they couldn't muster the courage to express their attitude. It was impossible for Joe Ran to help in everything. It won't last long. Any relationship cannot be one-sided. Joe Ran's eyes dimmed when he heard this. After she came back this time, she could feel that the relationship with her friends had weakened a lot. Even though they have always respected themselves since they were young, now it seems that they are just the passion of teenagers. This time when they returned home for the new year, they all contacted Joe Ran, but they no longer had the same feeling as before. I just followed my parents' arrangements, wanted to have a relationship, and tried to find a job to make money around me like Lu Hao. One more thing, they didn't know your identity before. Hazi's parents returned the villa, and they want to take it back these 2 days, but I haven't agreed yet. Then I won't give it to you. It's not much in the first place. Our family doesn't have enough. Then you have a lot of family. Ang, won't there be one more in a few months? Zhang Yuling's due date is early June, and Joe Ran's due date is the end of April. After all calculations, there are only more than 3 months left. I'll be back with you then. After Li Yuan Gang finished speaking, Joe Ran immediately said anxiously, "Don't do it. Someone has already suspected it. If you come back, you won't be able to tell clearly. I will take photos for you when the time comes. You should be busy with your own work. Don't worry about it, leave it with me, and when you are free, I will take the child to see you secretly." Sister Ran, you didn't say that before. You said before that the child has nothing to do with me. Joe Ran fell silent. It took her more than half a year to get used to her current life. But I also recognized the reality more clearly. It's completely different from when I was a kid. I only have you now. Others are trying to stay away, and the worlds between each other are becoming more and more clearly defined. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 240. Maybe I shouldn't go back with you. I should go to work in another city and never come back. I'll probably always remember the good things about my childhood. Nonsense, what happened objectively, whether you are escaping or not, is over there after all. If you don't follow me, you won't gain anything except getting more tired, and the life you live is just some self-deception, that's all. Can people in the world still choose to live a good life? Can't you just take care of yourself? I want to live like that. I didn't really think about it. Li Yuan. Since Joe Ran couldn't be persuaded, he could only take it to bed. He wasn't lying, he quite liked sensuality. Besides, Joe Ran is not fat at her current weight. If you unload some more cargo in a few months, it will easily return to about 110 pounds. With her height and weight, it's perfect. Hey, don't steal the children's food rations from now on. Joe Ran's parents are busy. After all, it's the new year. As Joe Ran's identity, family entertainment is indispensable. So Li Yuan could stay with her for a while. Planning is something that can never keep up with changes. On the afternoon of the 25th of the 12th lunar month, the family packed up some things and returned to Zhangzhou. Mainly to buy New Year's goods for my grandparents, and also get some things to go to Zhangzhou. On the first day of the first lunar month, he and his father had to rush back early in the morning to pay New Year greetings. After arriving in Zhangzhou, Zhou Wan went over to pick Zhang Yuling over. After all, they were too embarrassed to live at Zhang Yuan Qiao's side. He has to be here even during the Chinese New Year. When the time comes, he will ask Li Yuan to pick up Zhang Yuan Qiao. That night, Zhang Yuling talked a lot with Li Yuan.
On the 26th day of the 12th lunar month, Li Yuan had breakfast and came to Zhang Yuanqiao. The old man was sitting in the yard basking in the sun, but his figure looked a little lonely. After all, his only relative has now become someone else's daughter-in-law, and he spends less and less time at home. He didn't notice Li Yuan coming over. Until Li Yuan said, "How did you live before you were old? Yuling has only been away for half a day." Zhang Yuanqiao glanced at him and said, "Why are you here again?" When he faced Li Yuan, he had unspeakably complicated emotions. He can see Li Yuan's ambition, which can be seen from some of Li Yuan's methods. Li Yuan only focused on the key points and didn't care about other details. Even if Zhang Yuling is pregnant, should he hype it up with others or just hype it up? If it's not a hype, it means this guy is more ruthless. In Li Yuan's eyes, billions or tens of billions are not money at all, otherwise he would not be so active in making trouble after having his current net worth. It's good to get along with such a person, but it is very painful to marry such a person. He was afraid that his granddaughter would never be able to wait for a wedding. "Come here to see you. Yuling said that you have been in a bad mood recently." Li Yuan moved a chair and sat next to him. "I'm fine, let her not think so much. You should be nice to her in the future. If you don't treat her well, then she will be the most pitiable person in the world." "Why do I feel a bit angry about what you said? If you really want her to go home, I'll talk to her tonight." Zhang Yuanqiao waved his hand and said, "Forget it, it's not convenient for her to walk around now. It's a lot of trouble to get back and forth in the car. Besides, your parents are probably not happy either. Although she is his granddaughter, the reality is that after getting married, she will take over someone else's family." He didn't want to make it difficult for Zhang Yuling. "Indeed, my parents are really worried about Yuling living here. Even if you have a nanny here, they don't think they care about you." Zhang Yuanqiao said impatiently, "You came here specifically to tell me this." He was already very lonely, but then Li Yuan came and kept saying that if Zhang Yuling didn't come back, his parents wouldn't let him. If it had been 20 years earlier, his fiery temper would have come to the fore immediately. "No, I'm here to get some things for Yuling. After all, I won't live here anymore, so all the things will be moved to my place." Zhang Yuanqiao opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but in the end he couldn't. Li Yuan didn't even think about him at all. Make it clear and force him to move too. He looked at Li Yuan and said, "I can go with you, but before I leave, you have to promise me something." Li Yuan smiled and said, "Actually, I didn't want you to follow me. After all, retirement is still a bit stressful for me." Zhang Yuanqiao said with a straight face, "I don't need you to support me. After the new year, you and Yuling will take care of things." Li Yuan: "I am only 20 years old after the Chinese New Year. I am not even old enough to get married. Let's do some business first. I have an explanation with her parents. I have chosen the date, the 6th day of the first lunar month. Your family doesn't have to do anything. People can come over then, and I will arrange the rest." Li Yuan took a deep breath and said, "Okay, but try not to invite strangers." He could refuse, but he couldn't explain it to Zhang Yuling after he refused. So far, Zhang Yuling has asked herself for such a thing in a real sense. Besides, if you don't get a certificate, it will never be considered a true marriage. "Don't worry, there are no strangers." Zhang Yuanqiao knew that Li Yuan was not willing to give in. Although the twisted melon is not sweet, at least it quenches your thirst. He didn't want to be unable to fight for Zhang Yuling before he died. Anyway, he is quite old and doesn't care about Li Yuan holding a grudge. "Oh, okay. If I had known I wouldn't be here today, I would have gotten myself into it. Haha, you kid is so good at taking advantage of you. Let me tell you the truth, with your character, no matter how rich you are, Yuling is more than enough to match you.
If anything happens to you in the future, Yuling's identity will save your life. Li Yuan. Didn't you tell me earlier? It's a good match. In fact, the first time I saw Yuling, I knew I was destined to be with her. I've been chasing her until now, just to wait for this day. Haha, you are a dog. Just stay here and have dinner with me at noon. I will write some invitations and you will sign them too. Okay, no problem. Li Yuan stayed here at noon, and the two chatted about some things. For example, buying wine. Mutai still hopes to get the goods this year, but it will basically not be available next year. A new round of nationwide panic buying is coming, and that output is simply not enough. In the past few years, due to Mutai's expansion of production, every dealer had a lot of goods in hand. The market has not yet expanded and cannot digest so much. So in the past 2 years, I can almost get the original box of wine directly from the dealer at a price of 1,560. Since 2019, with the expansion of the market, there are very few Mutai products on the market that are less than 2,500. Even if there is some connection, it will cost about 3,000 to get it. Zhang Yuanqiao just invested money, but because of physical inconvenience, he never came forward to do anything. Mainly Ho Zhenqiao and the others are doing it. Looking for warehouses and sources of goods, we already have quite a lot of reserves. They are able to get very cheap prices, with an ex-factory price of 969. Even if they buy them in large quantities, the cost will not exceed 1,001. According to Li Yuan's price of more than 1,300 yuan, he can still get a profit of close to 20%. With a little leverage, it would be easy for each person to earn hundreds of millions of pocket money from Li Yuan. When signing autographs in the afternoon, Zhang Yuanqiao scolded him. You write this character like a chicken crawling on it. Words are like people, it doesn't refer to appearance, but character. It can be seen from your words that you are an impatient person. Li Yuan. To put it bluntly, the old man wanted to criticize himself, but could not find a suitable opportunity. Now that the opportunity has come, I will definitely not let it go. Zhang Yuanqiao may have started planning a long time ago and has everything prepared. And it's just a family banquet, held at home, and not many people need to be invited. It's nothing more than the 13 Taibao, plus some people brought by the 13 Taibao, and nothing else. They have relatives in their family, but they are far away, so there is no need to invite them this time. After all, the 13 Taibao had an interest here, and they would not tell anyone about it if they knew it, let alone cause trouble for Li Yuan. Once they said it, the loser was themselves. After all, this kind of thing would not have much impact on Li Yuan. On the contrary, it succeeded in getting Li Yuan to exclude that person from his circle. On the 28th day of the 12th lunar month, Ho Zhenqiao received an invitation from Zhang Yuanqiao. He called Ho Wenbin in and showed him the invitation. Ho Wenbin was stunned for a moment and said, "Grandpa, Li Yuan is going to marry Sister Yuling." "Well, on the 6th day of the lunar month, you can come with me then." "Me? My parents are back this time, how about you?" He felt that he would be a little timid when meeting Li Yuan again. He already knew about Ye Sheng. After entering the palace for the second time, there was no chance to go out. The reason is that he offended Li Yuan. He was so frightened that he never thought of talking to Li Yuan again. Ho Zhenqiao said, "It's useless if your dad goes there. Over there, he is either an elder or a junior, and he doesn't even have a chance to speak. But I went there. You and Yuling are still young after all, and you are also young people. You went to have something to talk with Li Yuan and the others. I tell you the truth, this is your only chance. If you can't seize this opportunity, you will be in trouble in the future. You don't even have the chance to meet Li Yuan. He has achieved his current worth in half a year. If you give him another year, no one can say how far he can reach.
If you escape, the result will not be worse than Ye Sheng's. How much better? After Ho Wenbin hesitated, he gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, I'll go." Ho Jianqiu felt relieved and said, "Don't put any pressure on you, just communicate normally. I still understand Li Yuan's character, and there is no conflict between you. He will not care about such trivial matters. Moreover, Li Yuan also needs some allies. I have investigated the people around him and found that he spent a lot of effort to support a friend who he had played with since childhood. He suddenly left some time ago, which shows that Li Yuan's purpose was not successful. No matter how powerful a person is, he cannot do everything by himself. If you put your identity aside, it will be easier to communicate with Li Yuan, and it will be easier to gain his appreciation." Ho Wenbin. Li Yuan is younger than him, and now he seems to be fawning over the boss. But Li Yuan is indeed a boss, no matter whether the richest man's net worth is high or not. Ho Jianqiu said, "Take advantage of these 2 days to prepare some gifts for me, according to the budget of 20 million. Grandpa, you'd better tell me. I don't know enough about it. Apart from the car and house, I can't think of anything else for a while." Ho Jianqiu didn't think there was anything wrong with it. On the contrary, he felt that his grandson had made some progress. If you are worried about doing something wrong, ask your elders in advance. There is no shame. Yuling is about to give birth to a baby, what do you think we should prepare for? Yuruyi? Guanyin. Li Yuan's parents will definitely come this time, and even his grandparents. The elderly can prepare some emerald pearls, or gold pendants, and nutritional supplements. Well, let's prepare like this. Chat with others. There are only a dozen or so this time, and you know who they are. If you exceed the budget, don't save, just tell me. The gift should be beautiful. After all, the opportunity to give Li Yuan a gift may only be this once. The next time will probably have to wait until Li Yuan's child gets married, but Ho Jianqiu doesn't have the confidence to wait until that day. Ho Wenbin did not say that he wanted to send milk powder and diapers, which shows that he thought with his heart instead of just speaking. He is not an ordinary person. As long as he does something with his heart, even if he is not satisfied in the end, the probability is that the thing itself is difficult, which does not mean that he did it wrong. That guy Yesheng is purely his own problem. The group of 13 Taibao has been established for many years. Now Ho Wenbin is starting to build another group. It's just that the relationship between them is definitely not as strong as the 13 Taibao. It's more like joining a group to keep warm before some emergencies. Ho Jianqiu and others have always wanted to enable future generations to hold together, but unfortunately they have not succeeded. A team has either experienced the test of blood and fire in their adulthood and has deep feelings for each other. Or you need a powerful enough soul figure. Unfortunately, these two conditions are not met in future generations. There are many people who pay attention to Li Yuan, and he is just one of them. Li Yuan obviously wanted to have his own partner, but there was no one around him who could support him. I have a high level of trust when I was young, but my vision and structure were not very good, and I had no intention of moving forward at all. As for those students, their backgrounds are too poor, and they rely solely on support, so it is difficult for them to truly integrate. Ho Wenbin and the others are the most suitable. They have the ability, background, and vision. It's just that the trust level is a bit low. Whether he can seize the opportunity depends on what Ho Wenbin does. You can never become a true friend by relying on introductions from others. He sent a message to Zhang Yuanqiao and asked, "Do you still need anything over there? I will ask my cook to come over on the 5th day of the new year. Let me know what ingredients are needed and I will prepare them by then." Zhang Yuanqiao only replied, "Just bring Wenbin and the others over. There are only a few tables of food, so the cook can be busy." It seems that we both thought of going together. No, Li Yuan rang.